The Marcia Week Show. It's the Marcia Week Show. From Barbados to Africa, voices unite. Educate minds, elevate sight. It's the Marcia Week Show. It's the Marcia Week Show. From Barbados to Africa, voices unite. Educate minds, elevate sight. It's the Marcia Week Show. Talk truth, build roots, stories unfold. Motivate change, mobilize is the mode, that's the MR code. Hey, we growing, we know it.
Well, you heard it at the end of the national anthem. Strict guardians of our heritage, firm craftsmen of our fate. And this is where we as the people of Barbados must be standing firm to protect our heritage and to craft our future. That is not entirely the responsibility of a government. That is the responsibility of all of the citizens of this country. And tonight we want to welcome all of you from the loyal opposition, and those of you who may be joining us for the first time as well. We want to welcome you to the Marcia Week Show. It's a pleasure for me to be here with you tonight. And as we go into this show, we want to pledge our allegiance to our nation and to our flag. We have sang our national anthem, and now I invite you to join me with the national pledge. I pledge allegiance to my country, Barbados, and to my flag, to uphold and defend their honor, and by my living to do credit to my nation wherever I go. That's a commitment that we have made to our country and to our national flag. It's a joy to have you joining us tonight. And again, I want to encourage you, as we always do at the beginning of this show, to share. Okay, that helps us a lot in terms of the algorithms, especially in YouTube. And of course, giving us, the thumbs up, the likes, no thumbs down, all right? Just the thumbs up, the likes. We want to make sure that we are high on the list when people are looking for information, even to do with Barbados. So share as much as you can, and make sure you give us that thumbs up. Well, tonight is going to be a packed show, to be honest with you. So much is going to be happening tonight. We're going to take a quick review of the citizenship bill. We're going to take a quick overview of that. We're going to be looking as well at this whole matter of the constitutional amendment that is addressing the matter of crossing the floor. And this is going to be interesting because tonight, we talk about Emma on this show: educate, motivate, mobilize, and agitate. Tonight, we are going to be educating again, as we did last night. Last night was a tremendous night of education. So we'll be looking at this whole matter to do with us, parliamentarians crossing the floor. And of course, what about the integrity in public life? We've heard a lot about integrity legislation, but we haven't seen it enacted up to now. And then we are going to be returning as well to the animal farm, and the subject tonight, the cost of dissent. All right. And this is going to be an interesting portion. Animal farm, I've done many, many years ago when I was in school. I can't remember all that much about it, but I'm going to do my best tonight to try and recollect and go back over the time in my life. Oh, I thank you, Andrea, for letting me know I'm sticking. Like I said, over here on my end, I'm looking pretty good. I don't know if it's the internet, to be honest with you, but thank you so very, very much for letting us know. And I hope that very soon that will work itself out. But on my end, I'm looking pretty smooth from here. And I hope they'll have that addressed in the next few minutes. Well, let me welcome all of you this evening. Matthew Brown, welcome to the show tonight. Of course, I can never do it like Marcia does. She's just a boss at this. So I'm a little nerdy when it comes to this kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Well, we have Monica Keynes there. We thank you for being with us tonight. Bajan Boy and Andre. Let me make sure I have this right. Andrea Critchlow. And I'm a big girl. Great to have you with us again tonight as well. Beverly Prescott, good night to you. And V Hoy 7899 and Tyrone Blackman, great to have you back with us again tonight. We appreciate you taking the time to join the show. Pauline Maynard, thank you for being here as well. We really appreciate every single one of you. We might not get the opportunity to call the names of every single one of you, but know that we appreciate every single one of you as you come on the show. Marvel Lashley, great to have you with us again. I'm looking for that individual that used to keep me on my toes, on my P's and Q's. I think that was Marcia. And of course, I'm also missing Andrea. Great to have you with us. But I'm missing Mr. Alfred Benjamin. I know it's been snowing a lot up there, I understand, in New York and in that area. And I trust that if you're hearing us, Andrew, that you'll be able to come on and join us again tonight. Cleveland, and it's great to have you, Cleveland. A joy to have you on the show. Jasper, good to have you as well. Good night to you. A pleasure to have every single one of you joining us this evening. And it is my distinct privilege to co-host tonight. You'll be seeing her soon to co-host tonight with Marcia. It's always a joy to be sharing the program with her. It's always an education whenever we are involved with this segment and with this program. Always an education. Now, by the same token, let me also add a very, very important segment, which you might have heard us address before, but I want to take the time tonight to just make a few comments with regards to it. And that is to do with this Maturu primary school feeding program that you're seeing up on the screen. So before I continue any further, I just want to pause for this because this is really important and it really matters. Now, when Dave and Marcia visited Kenya, they went to a small primary school, and when they saw there was something, what they saw there was something that you would not forget. I'm always intrigued with these little African children. I see them with so much energy, sitting in their classroom, trying to learn. But the problem is that many of them had not eaten. And for some of them, the only meal that they would get that entire day was whatever the school could provide. So imagine trying to focus in terms of your education, your class, your subjects, and so on, trying to focus. And as we would say in Barbados, your belly is at your back. And so that moment sparked something in Dave and Marcia. And that's how the Maturo Breakfast Program began, to make sure that those children that you're seeing on the screen receive at least one solid meal in the morning. A simple bowl of porridge, nothing extravagant, just nourishment, just dignity, just a fair chance to learn. And out of that experience, Marcia wrote the book, When We Lose Our Fear, They Lose Their Power. And if you haven't got it yet, you need to get it, and you need to start reasoning it. That phrase alone in itself came from something in Kenya, someone in Kenya. And it became a reminder that courage can change circumstances, and how we are seeing that all around the world, where citizens are standing up on their own behalf, so to speak, and speaking out. But tonight, courage looks like compassion, and we want to be sure that you invest in this school in Kenya, and you can do so by purchasing the book that you saw on the screen a moment ago. Dave, if you could just shoot that back up there quickly. You'll see that book, When We Lose Our Fear, They Lose Their Power. And every book sale goes toward those children. Okay, and we're asking for something very simple over this week, and that is just 15 books they're trying to get. Just 15 books. If you haven't got yours, make sure you get it. Just 15 books, and the proceeds will go toward helping with the real feeding program with those children that you see on the screen. So you can give her a call at 236-7000, and you can order your book. And I think I did hear them say something about it being on Amazon, but I'm sure she can touch on that when she comes on this evening and correct me if I'm wrong. But you can get it probably directly from her, 236-7000. Oh, yes, and you can purchase it online. I believe it is on Amazon that you can get it. There it is, Amazon.com, and you can pick that book up. And a great, great read. So let's not underestimate what we can do together. 15 books that can feed a lot of children. It means a lot. Trust me, it means a lot to these kids down in Africa. So we encourage you to make sure you invest in their lives and make them a better group of young people. They're trying to make a life for themselves there in Africa. I have many connections there as well myself, with many people that we have been training through my program with the Academy of Universal Global Peace USA, and also with the Nations United for Peace. And we are constantly training in leadership. We're training in chaplaincy and several other areas on an ongoing basis. So make sure you invest in the lives of these children, okay? That's really, really very important. Now, tonight we want to move into a couple of areas, and I just want to do a very quick review in the next few moments of the Citizenship Bill. Now, this bill was presented in the House of Assembly, and the amendment to it actually was presented, and you know it's concerning what we read where the bill is concerned. And from the information and my research that I have done, there are a couple of areas for concern. Of course, citizenship is unrevocable as it relates to birth. Citizenship by birth, that is automatic. We began to observe the fact, as it relates to the power of the minister, because it would appear that the power of either granting citizenship or revoking citizenship or refusing citizenship lies exclusively in the hand of the minister. And the concerns with regards to this has to do with the broad language that addresses the whole matter as we consider it. Under this new legislation, you would find that the minister almost can subjectively determine whether he grants citizenship or refuses it, or for that matter, revokes it. And to the best of my knowledge, there's nothing within the context of the bill that gives a person a place of appeal within the bill, although the minister's power is under the jurisdiction of the Constitution, of course, and also subject to judicial reference. So that if a person is either refused or there's a revocation, within that context, and the person is not satisfied with the decision of the minister, there is the recourse of the court that the individual can go to. Now, that's fine for us to say, but I think all of us realize that the reality of it is that the reality of it is that we are subject to legislation, and when we're subject to that legislation and you want to deal with the matter legally, it requires attorneys, and attorneys cost money. There is no committee, as there are in other countries, that a person can appeal to. For that matter, there's no guiding committee that I'm aware of that would guide the minister within the context of the granting, revocation, or refusal of the bill. And so this is a matter that ought to cause us some concern, especially when one considers the fact that we now have the capability of a person, I think, within 2 to 3 years, becoming a citizen of Barbados. It almost, to a degree in my mind, cheapens the whole perspective of our sovereignty and our citizenship. And I would suggest that, some reconsideration be given with regards not only to the time, but what is invested in the country. And I'm sorry I didn't pull it up tonight, but I have looked into the matter of residency and citizenship in the Cayman Islands. And in the Cayman Islands, for example, you have to have some kind of root in the Cayman in order to qualify for citizenship. And I can't remember the specified time. You have to have finances within Grand Cayman, and you also have to be able to sustain yourself when you apply for residency or citizenship in the Cayman Islands. In other words, it's not a case where you can come and work there and, build yourself into that position, as I believe is being suggested where this particular bill is concerned. Persons come, have a work permit, they work here for a couple of years. After a couple of years of being here, they can apply for citizenship or residency. Of course, then we have the citizenship by investment, where if you put a certain amount of money into the country. But to my mind, again, that would have to be something that would establish roots here. I mean, persons can invest into the country, get citizenship, and not be rooted here, not be grounded here, not have a tangible aspect that holds them to this country. And I think these are some of the important considerations that need to be taken into consideration as we look at this entire matter. Then there was a concern about the lack of appeal or oversight. The bill does not require additional parliamentary approval for many of the decisions, meaning that the minister's decision stands on its own authority. There isn't an explicit structured appeal process written within the bill or within the text, at least as it was debated, leading to concerns that those affected may have recourse only by judicial review rather than a clear legislative appeals channel. And this is important because, as I mentioned, lawyers cost money. And that's a fact. That is not a suspicion or a conspiracy. That is an absolute fact. So we have his exclusive ability to grant, refuse, or revoke, and there is no recourse other than by judicial review. And as a result, we have had calls even from this show for clarification or amendment to ensure decisions on citizenship revocation have meaningful checks and balance safeguards. Now, one of the other things that also was of concern was the broad speech, the wide matter to do with what is defined as disloyal or disaffected. They're in countries where you have to be very specific as it relates to the language. Where, for example, if the language showed threats of national security in terms of terrorism or something of that nature, serious crime was conducted, something of that nature. Yes, that would certainly be areas for concern. But the simple word of disaffection can be very vague. So the bill does not clearly outline a structured internal process or aspect as it relates to how it defines the act or the speech. What does that mean? And so we want to have these matters reviewed so that persons within our country can know quite clearly where the parameters exist. When a person doesn't know, and when it's left up to the whim and fancy of the minister, that has the capacity to create some challenges. Because as much as I know him quite well, the Honorable Gregory Nichols, and my understanding is that there's some relationship where we are concerned, myself and him and Mr. Nichols from Nichols Bakery as well. I've known his brother, his sister-in-law has been a member of our church, and she has been one of our worship leaders at the House of Freedom. And so I know him, and I have always perceived him to be a person of integrity, a person of standing. But nevertheless, things can become quite partisan, as we can see, and as we will continue to see on this show tonight. And as we saw when we were dealing with the matter of the Speaker of the House last night, when we touched on that matter. So we want to suggest that there be a more specified and a more focused language within the context of this bill that is not so vague and so broad as to just leave it out there in the ear for the minister to determine what he considers to be a threat. Have I made you a discomfortable, uncomfortable, or anything of that nature? So what we're encouraging you to do is to email the Ministry of Home Affairs. You have their email addresses there on the screen, and they're going to keep it up so you can copy it down. And I believe there's a letter as well, a draft letter that has been prepared, that if you would like it, there it is on the screen. I believe if you would like a copy of that letter, it is available. And I think it, let me just double check with this. Yes, it is available if you want to get the draft. And of course, the show remains up, as you know, on YouTube, but there it is on the screen. I write to you, Mr. Minister, dear Minister Gregory Nichols. I write as a concerned citizen regarding the proposed I almost said cybercrime, because I've been so involved with that, Citizenship Bill 2025, particularly the provisions dealing with the revocation of citizenship. While I understand that the state must have mechanisms to address fraud and genuine threats to national security, I am deeply concerned about the breadth of the language used in several sections of the bill. Phrases such as non-conducive to the public good, disloyal or disaffected, and activities prejudicial to the safety or public order are wide, subjective, and open to broad interpretation, and may I add, subjective interpretation. Laws of this magnitude require precision. Citizenship is a foundational legal status, and any power to revoke it must be narrowly defined and accompanied by strong safeguards. I'm also concerned about the concentration of decision-making authority in the hands of the minister without a clearly articulated independent appeal mechanism. In matters as serious as citizenship deprivation, independent judicial oversight is essential to maintain public confidence and to protect against potential misuse. I respectfully urge the Minister to reconsider the breadth of these provisions and to strengthen safeguards, including clear definitions and guaranteed independent review. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I look forward to further clarification and open public engagement on these important constitutional issues. So if you want a copy of that, I'm sure it will be available. And as I said, we'll certainly let you know. Pedro is telling me to recuse myself. Pedro, I am not the Nichols involved in the matter, even though there may potentially be some relationship where we are concerned. All right, so that's okay. So there you have it. Email. If you can just bring it up a little bigger again, Dave, as we prepare to transition to the next one. There you have it. haffairs@mha.gov.bb or homeaffairs@mha.gov.bb. That is the Ministry of Home Affairs, and you can send your email to the minister there concerning this bill. Now we are getting ready to transition into our next segment, one that I'm going to find rather interesting because, as I said, I haven't touched on this subject in donkey years, and I don't even know if I'll remember much about it. So let me take this opportunity to welcome the lady of the show. That is, I'm almost tempted to say, the Honorable Marcia Weekes. Marcia, just give me that thumbs up as you always ask me to do so that I can bring you into the show.
Good evening.
There you are in your lovely African print. I want some of them. So if
probably not this pretty.
No, I would love them that pretty. I would love them that colorful. Trust me, I love color. But welcome, Marcia. It's a joy to have you joining us this evening.
Yes, it is indeed a joy, and to have everybody who's watching us here on YouTube. I know you're having some challenges there with your with your video, and
Yes.
I'm going to suggest, I'm wondering if you go out and come back in, if that might help a little bit.
Well, I can try
how
that.
is my video? How is my video?
You from my end, you look fine. From my end, my video is looking quite smooth. I'm not seeing any stick in here, but I will go back out and come back in and see.
Yeah, it's sticking and it's not clear. Dave was asking you whether to check the chat before, check the private chat before.
Yes,
you go.
I saw his comment there, and I am plugged directly in. So
Yes,
I will just check and see. There may be one or two others using the internet here.
Yes,
I'll
saying my video is clear, but yours is blurry.
Right.
So I'll go out, and sometimes you go out and come back, and it works.
Okay, well, we'll try that, and I'll let you run the things for the time being until I get back in.
Yes, so I'll just do the segment that I'm due to host. Okay, so folks, tonight we are talking about Animal Farm. Just before we go into all the legalese, all right? So we're looking at Animal Farm and the Constitution. What happens when dissent becomes costly? So I know Dave is. How many of you remember Animal Farm? And some of you asked me, Marcia, are we going to go back to it? Are we going to get to go back to it? Are we going to do it again? Well, let's step away tonight from politics for a little moment. And we want to step into literature, one of my favorite things in the world, okay? George Orwell's Animal Farm, it's not about pigs. It's about power. Lest anybody, say I'm calling anybody animals on here. Now, George Orwell's Animal Farm is asking one question. What happens to a system when power becomes centralized? That is all, that is really, really what Animal Farm is about, you know. What happens to a system when power becomes centralized and dissent becomes dangerous, guys? Now, we are debating a constitutional amendment, which we're going to be doing, looking at that in the next probably 20 minutes. And we have Fanus here with us. One of the candidates is a lawyer, Damien Fanus. He will join us. But what this particular constitutional amendment could cause a member of parliament to lose their seat if they resign, if they're expelled, or if they cross the floor. So write those down, because you're going to hear us talk about that a lot. Resign, expelled, or cross the floor. So we want to examine this particular moment through Orwell's lens. We're not here to accuse or to inflame, but we want to understand power, because that's what this book is about. Centralized power, when power becomes centralized. Now, we have on the screen chapter 7, but I just want to review a little bit of chapter 5. But I'm not going to say anything. Let me see if anybody can remember, can tell me what chapter 5 is about. Who remembers what chapter 5 is about? Who out there remember what chapter 5 is about? Let me check the comment section. Anybody can tell me what chapter 5 is about? No, don't remember. Students, remember, we're educating, we're motivating, we're mobilizing, we're agitating. Jacqueline said, I don't remember. Jacqueline has been a very good student when it comes on to Animal Farm, but she doesn't remember. And honestly, I had to review it today to remember. But chapter 5 is when, in chapter 5 of Animal Farm, Snowball and Napoleon disagree. You remember that? And there's debate. There's disagreement. There are competing ideas, which is okay, right? So in chapter 5, Snowball is expelled. Snowball is expelled because there's debate, there's disagreement, there are competing ideas. What does this sound like to you guys? I'm going to let you make the inference. After that moment, something subtle but profound happens. Debate does not continue anymore. Decisions are no longer made through open discussions. They are made elsewhere. All right? The animals are told what has been decided. Orwell's lesson in this book here is not about violence. It's about what happens when the cost of dissent becomes too high. The cost of dissent. When the cost of dissent becomes too high, what happens? When the price of disagreement is removal, debate changes. In fact, there's no more debate. Think about this, guys. I want you to make the application. Write the application in the comment section. You write the application. There is debate, and Snowball is expelled. After Snowball is expelled, no more debate, no more discussion, right? Now, let's bring that back to our Constitution amendment. And actually, I don't even want to go into that a little bit so much. I wait until Fanus comes, all right, when the lawyer comes. Because if an MP knows that they're leaving the party or being expelled, results in losing their seat, what happens to internal dissent? If the MP knows that if they leave the party or being expelled, it will result in them losing their seat. What will happen to internal dissent? You write it in the comment section. Does it disappear because everyone agrees? Or does it disappear because disagreement becomes dangerous? Now we're going to look at chapter 7. All right, we're going to take 2 minutes, and Dave is going to. So we review chapter 5, and then we're going to look at chapter 7 for 2 minutes. Dave, jump right in for me, please, and play chapter 7.
In Chapter 7, times are tough in Animal Farm. Construction on the new windmill goes all through winter. The animals want to prove themselves to the humans, who are saying that the windmill's walls were too thin. The animals continue to believe that Snowball sabotaged them. To make the walls thicker, it means more work, and that means Boxer and Clover are putting in more hours. Meanwhile, improperly planted potato crops fail, causing food shortages all over the farm. Napoleon convinces the animals to work hard to deceive the outside world from the shortages. The animals are instructed to tell Mr. Whymper about how much food there is and how great things are going. Meanwhile, Napoleon decides he's going to sell more of the hens' eggs to make up for lost food. The hens rebel. They want their eggs to grow up, become chicks. They start laying them in the rafters, but they fall and break. Napoleon withholds their rations. The resistance only lasts for 5 days, during which 9 hens die. Again, Napoleon spins the narrative saying they died of disease. Underscoring all these problems is the fact that Snowball continues to be the top scapegoat for the farm. Squealer announces Snowball sold himself to Frederick and has always been in league with the humans. That threat of Snowball hangs over any problem on the farm, and Napoleon uses this fear when he executes the 4 pigs who questioned him, the hens who rebelled, and even other animals. Everyone on the farm is stunned. They try comforting themselves by singing Beasts of England. But then Squealer tells them it's been banned. In this chapter, we see a lot of the historical problems of actual communism. Outsiders can't know about the food shortages. That might leave them open for another attempt for the humans to attack and take over the farm. We also see the role of scapegoating, mostly when it comes to Snowball, being used to cover for problems on the farm, mostly from management. Any major thing that goes wrong is blamed on Snowball. He's the scapegoat. And it's important to use a scapegoat in communist history so that the government can do whatever they want and not be questioned about it. We also see the way history is rewritten to fit the current narrative. Many of Snowball's alleged crimes are food-related, tying into the food shortages. The pigs rewrite history with the Battle of the Cowshed. Snowball used to be a hero, but now he was in cahoots with Mr. Jones the entire time. The animals' willingness to believe anything the pigs tell them says something about how indoctrinated they've all really become.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. So I was saying that in chapter 7, the farm changes again. We are dealing with fear and conformity. In chapter 5, we saw where Snowball was expelled because of debate. Napoleon did not want any debate, did not want any disagreement, didn't want any voice of dissent, and so Snowball was expelled. All right. Confession started to happen. As you see, fear spread, the atmosphere shifts. Not because every animal suddenly believes the leadership is perfect, but they understand that speaking up becomes risky. And as we're going through this, I want you to stop and I want you to think about our present situation in Barbados. Again, Orwell isn't writing about animals. He's writing about systems. When consequences escalate, conformity rises. Now ask yourself this question, which we're going to jump into the constitutional amendment, read the crossing of the floor, etc. If a party leader can trigger constitutional consequences through expulsion, if the speaker must declare if the seat can be vacated immediately, what message do you think that will send to MPs who disagree internally? Is this about stability, as the government is saying, or could it create silence? If we take a peek at chapter 10, we're not going to play it, but I'm just going to give you a brief summary. The animals, in chapter 10, the animals, they look through the window and they can't tell pigs from humans. Remember, they started off the animal farm, as it's called, animal farm. They removed all the humans because the humans were bad. But by chapter 10, you see the gradual transformation that happened. Started at chapter 5, where they put out Snowball, they expel Snowball, dissent, no more dissenting voice. There we see in chapter 7, where there is fear and conformity. People start to conform. And now you see the gradual transformation. So is this what Napoleon wanted? The commandments have changed, meaning the Constitution, could it be, slowly, quietly over time. Remember what the commandments is like the Constitution, right? No single change felt dramatic enough to resist. No single change felt dramatic enough to resist. Orwell's warning is about gradual normalization. Gradual normalization. Constitutions are not destroyed in one blow, Barbados. They are reshaped incrementally. I'm sure we can all remember at different occasions where it's being announced that the Constitution is going to be amended. It was amended when they wanted to bring in Kay McConney, when they wanted to bring in Adams, Senator Adams. Remember, they wanted to amend it for the young to have a senator. I believe he was 18 years old. Everything they keep wanting to go to amend the Constitution, and the Constitution has been amended quite a number of times, already. Now, I'm not here trying to call anyone a dictator, right? We're talking here about constitutional culture. And this amendment that we're getting ready to talk about tonight, we want to ask the question, though, guys, does this amendment protect democracy? Does it make dissent more expensive? Think about that amendment that we're going to talk about it tonight. The amendment to the Constitution, which says that if you cross the floor, basically your seat is gone. You're expelled. Your seat is gone. Does this amendment protect democracy? Does it make dissent more expensive? Does the seat belong to the party or to the people? In the book, Orwell teaches us that systems do not collapse when debate exists. They change when debate becomes costly. When you no longer have debate is when systems collapse. Barbados. All I'm saying is that you can make the inferences in the comment section. We have to decide what kind of constitutional culture we want. Yeah? I think that is important. And for those of you who want to go back to looking at chapter at Animal Farm, I would suggest that you go ahead and do so because it is yeah. I'm trying to read some of your comments before our next guest. Dan says those who rule by force are afraid of reasoning because they know the laws will get in their way, and hence they themselves have become the law in a one-party state. Listen, folks, this is Dan again says sometimes it's hard to get people out of their comfort zone when hope seems to be just a dream. You got to act accordingly in a diplomatic way. Wrong can be right. Okay. Now, we're going to go to our first guest, but that's giving you a lot to think about. And that is Animal Farm. We looked at chapter 5, 7, and 10. All right. Go back and read it over for yourself. But we have with us Mr. Damien Fanus. And Mr. Fanus was a candidate for the Democratic Labour Party. He's also an attorney at law and somebody who we have grown to love. And so we're very, very happy to have him. He had a very interesting article that he wrote, and I said to him, I said, Mr. Fanus, I would love for you to come on and to share with us about that article. And here he is tonight. He's going to tell you all about it. Good night, Damien.
Hey, good night, Marcia. How are you doing? Can you hear me properly?
Yes, we're hearing you properly. We're hearing you properly. Somebody says, oh my Lord, somebody said, I love him.
I love you too. Thank you very much.
Somebody else said, good night, Damien. Fanus, welcome. Glad to see you. Good night and welcome, Damien. Okay, so Damien, tell us about your, there's still that sound that is coming through, but it could just be the internet tonight.
Let me see. You want me to see if I can fix it? You want me to see if I can sort it out for you?
Yeah, you think you know why?
I think I have an idea what it is. I think it's my it may be my fan. You know, sometimes the nights get kind of hot. I'm not sure if that's probably what you're hearing, but it's probably the fan.
Okay, well try and let's see if that would work. Okay. All right. So while he does that, we are going to ask you to like and share. I know Dr. Ferdinand is still trying to get his stuff worked out. Guys, those of you out there, can you pray for us? Please pray for us. Yes. Okay. Guys, have you liked and shared yet? Have you liked and shared yet? Don't forget that you can get your letter. You can get your letter, the letter to be sent to the email that needs to be sent to the Minister of Home Affairs. That email to Minister Gregory Nichols is available. We are about business. We are serious about what we're doing. So, we're ready to do that. Let me see if Mr. Fanus is able to join us again, and let's see if that sound issue will be gone. Good night, Mr. Fanus.
Hi, Marcia. Is it rectified?
I think it's a bit better. I hope so. What I'll do once you're not, I'm not speaking, I'll turn off my mic and allow you to go. Well, jump right into it and tell us about your article.
Well, the premise behind there's no paradise in an autocracy. The whole premise is that the two cannot exist in the same space. It means that it's either that you have a benevolent government who understands the rights of the people and upholds them, or you don't, which means that we either exist in paradise or we either exist in autocracy. And the whole point to the article was to just highlight certain instances that it seems like we as a people are taken for granted, that we are allowing the government to basically enact certain things or basically erode certain democratic guardrails right under our noses, and because that they are popular or because that certain figures in the media do not highlight or call them out as vigorously as you think they should, they seem to get away with a pass. While on the other hand, it seems like people are focusing on individuals or a party that is not in power and does not affect policy or legislation, while at the same time not taking into account that really and truly there has to be an added scrutiny onto the ruling party because they have all the seats, they have all the power. And basically, that is a formula for where that certain democratic norms or guardrails can be eroded right under our noses if we do not pay close attention.
Yes, and when I love there's no paradise in our in an autocracy. You know, we sometimes refer to Barbados as paradise, and the people outside of Barbados, they think that we are in paradise. Can you give some examples of autocratic behavior in Barbados?
Well, let's take the recent um, attempting to pass certain legislation that basically kind of like fettered certain rights or were kind of counter to certain rights of the Barbadian people. Like my colleague Corey Greenwich would have taken great issue with the wire interception bill and the way that the wiretapping could have been enacted on people without basically a warrant. And let's not forget the cybercrime bill. The cybercrime bill itself basically it basically was trying to curtail certain freedom of speeches or that right to freedom of speech on the internet, but at the same
Yes,
time punish individuals for just basically stating their opinion or through some form of comical meme or what's not, trying to criminalize that. So you have to be very careful in the sense that you have to look at the types of rights now that are being infringed upon. Your right to freedom of speech and basically your right to not to be surveilled without your permission. And that in a sense is the hallmark of an autocratic regime. I don't say government, I say regime.
why do you say regime?
Because right now this government isn't acting like a government. It's acting like a regime. It basically there's one leader, and that one leader has all of the say. Even when you look at how the campaign was run recently, the election on the 11th of February, each and every single person that was running under the Barbados Labour Party ticket, when you saw their posters, you didn't see them by themselves. You saw them, the posters were placed on like the poles, and then there was the leader above,
Hmm.
placed above those individuals. That, in a sense, is in a way a psychological programming to show you that really and truly you're voting for me. I am the one who has all the answers. I am the one who is competent. These people are along for the ride, but at the same time, placing them above the individual on the pole shows that I'm always above them.
Yes, yes. Well,
So you,
there is in your article, you talk about the prioritization of regime survival over welfare of citizenry, and you quoted the prime minister who says, I don't that she, that it, herself, that she doesn't really want an opposition. If you vote for an opposition, you might end up, actually I wrote it down, end up with a government you didn't want or something like that. Can you explain that in the context of there's no paradise in an autocracy?
well, when it comes to autocratic regimes, they do not want any dissenting voices. You don't want anybody criticizing or, in a sense, highlighting your missteps or, in a sense, calling you out on the norms that you might be looking to infringe upon. Now, for me, it is terrifying when a prime minister, as a democratically elected prime minister, could look at its people the people of Barbados, her people, and say, listen, I don't want an opposition. I don't want an opposition because what is the use of it? We can run the country all by ourselves. That is not technically true. An opposition provides rigorous discourse, alternative discourse, and helps you to then, where you think that you might be going in the right direction in regards to certain legislation or policy, an opposition can basically say, well, listen, yes, you might want to go this way, but I believe that this needs to be done, or this should not be done this particular way. So
Mhm.
basically, you don't want any robust discussion about the bill you think is best for the people. So in a sense where you can say that I don't want an opposition, especially in an island that basically has allowed persons to present themselves for service, and whether they win the government or they're in opposition, they're always with that check and balance in the lower house, where the people would have an alternative set of views and an alternative set of discourse in regards to whatever it is that the ruling government wants to enact. And that is what you call a strong democracy. It cannot be a strong democracy when there's only one voice.
Yes. Yes. In your article, you said in your last paragraph, the failure of the media, political commentators, and us, yes, us, the Barbadian people, to hold this government accountable. There's a propaganda ecosphere here in this country that is pro-B and anti-D. This revelation is probably the most harmful and dangerous of them all. Can you expound on that a bit, Mr. Panel?
What I've noticed is that, and we're not going to mince words here, the government affords a particular political capital when it comes to the media. There are individuals who you would think that would hide, oh, okay, this government did this, and they would analyze and have robust discussion on how it would affect society, and why you would think that a government would bring such types of policy or legislation to the floor when it knows that really and truly they've not discussed it with the people, or they've not taken it, they've not seek the people on consultation when it comes to certain. But that is not what is being highlighted right now. I see that there is this ecosphere, where this media ecosphere, where that the Democratic Labour Party is always in the target sights of the media. We can do no good, no matter even if we try to do any good. When really and truly we're not the ones you should be really focusing on right now. Yes, we presented ourselves to the electorate to be your new government. We failed, yes. But there is a government right now that are making certain missteps towards an autocracy. And that is not the focus right now. Everybody wants to know what's happening down in George Street. We even had an article from Barbados today where they said that there was some sort of division because no one attended the swearing in of Senator Ryan Walters. And you can't find a source in that article where it says that. There's no source. It's just speculation. And that is the type of journalism that we're having right now. It's the journalistic dishonesty that we're having right now. You're just putting out an article saying, oh, you don't see anybody here, so that must mean there must be a division. Well, where's your source? Who did you speak to? How do you know that? We would have sent Ryan's name. We would have voted and we would have sent two names, one of them being Ryan. How ridiculous it would then sound for you to come and say, well, there's division because no one was there. We sent up Ryan's name. So then we would there would be division because we sent up his name. So it makes absolutely no sense to me. And I think that right now, this is why it's so dangerous right now, this current political climate, because you are focusing on people that do not affect policy, cannot affect policy. They do not have the reins of the government. They don't have the reins of the government. We do, but we're not going to be able to put forward any legislation. But the current government is, the Barbados Labour Party government is. You need to focus on where you need to focus on what is in front of you right now, and where this government is looking to take Barbados. Because at the end of the day, if this government does something that affects all of the people, is your excuse or your cry going to be, oh, it's the LP's fault? It can't be, because we didn't bring the policy. We need the people, and we need those persons who have the voice in the media to keep this government in check.
Yes, most definitely. I see Dr. Ferdinand is back. What I'll ask you to do, Damien, that will help us, is if when you're not speaking, if you turn off your microphone. I think that let's try that and see. Let's see if that would help us a little bit. Yeah, we each practice that. All right. Once we're not speaking, if we can remember, we turn off the microphone. Well, as I said, I saw the article and just thought that it was so cleverly written, Dr. Ferdinand, no paradise in an autocracy. And a lot of people are believing that is how they are living, how Barbados is right now. I know a lot of you outside of Barbados, you don't see it that way. But as I told somebody from St. Vincent, hold a minute, boss. This is where we live. Do you get that, Dr. Ferdinand, sometimes? So people say, oh, you're in paradise. Everything should be fine.
Yes, Marcia, actually, when the elections were completed, I had people message me in shock because they thought everything here was so hunky-dory. And, just the mere fact of seeing the result of the election left them in shock, and they were showing how the media was portraying it in their country. I won't name the countries, but not far away from us, where the leader of that country is a very close friend of the prime minister. But it was being portrayed like, oh, wow, this is fantastic. The things are really beautiful in Barbados. They've returned the government to office. The prime minister is back. She's the most liked person in the world. And, and I had to tell them, I said, you don't live here. You don't live here. You don't have to face the daily grind that people have trying to determine whether they're going to buy groceries or send 1 or 2 children to school. You don't have that capability to know when people have to do what we call pool their cars because they don't have the money to put gas in the car this week because of the cost of living here. They have to determine whether they're going to buy groceries this week or whether they're going to put gas in the car, and they're shocked to hear that. And they're saying that can't be true. I mean, when we hear what we hear coming from your prime minister, oh, Barbados is a beautiful country, all is well. That generally can be perceived to be the reality outside of Barbados. And, when persons observe how the prime minister functions internationally, it is very difficult to convince the international environment as to what's going on here in Barbados. That's why this show is very important. And Damien, I want to concur with you where the media is concerned. The media should be the loyal opposition of this country when you're dealing with 30 seats in which the government controls all 30 seats. The media should be keeping the government on their toes. There should be tough questions being asked by the journalists. There should be investigative journalism going on, such as what we're conducting here on this show from the journalists. But what we see, and I mean, you talk about, being quite brutally frank and not making two bones about it. Let's face it, the 2 major media in this house, in this country, are controlled by the government. That's a fact. We don't have to query that. That is an absolute fact.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Dr. Ferdinand. Well, we are going to segue. Everybody, get ready, folks. Be like last night, Get your pen, get your paper, get your questions ready. 9 o'clock, we want to hear from you. Call via WhatsApp 236-7000. We're going to spend the next 55 minutes, and we're going to look at this amendment that is being proposed to the Constitution of Barbados. And of course, putting it in the context that we're in. We're in a one-party parliament is what we have. All right. And so we have to put what is being proposed in that context. I don't know if Dave is able to put up the actual document on the screen, which says, this is the constitutional amendment. It's only a couple pages, very, very short, right? And so we are not here to talk about personalities, MPs, whatever. We're talking about structure, architecture. When you talk about your constitution, that's what holds up your country, right? So that's what we want to talk about tonight, right? Parliament is debating a constitutional amendment that could cause an MP to vacate their seat if they resign, if they are expelled, or if they cross the floor. We would have seen an MP last year, what do you call it? Not last year, the last election, reign, the last reign, where Marcia Candle actually resigned from her role as minister, but she remained an MP. We saw where Ralph Thorne crossed. We saw where Pastor Reverend Atherley, he crossed as well. And so here it is that they're saying if you resign, if you're expelled or you cross the floor, that you basically will have to leave Parliament, and it goes on. I'm going to allow Damien to go into it a bit more. But this is the bill that we have here on the screen. It says, let me just read the first part of it. Dr. Ferdinand, can you see it? Can you read Section 45?
This would be, yes, I can read it. I've got it. Section 45 of the Constitution is amended in subsection 1 by A, deleting the full stop appearing at the end of paragraph G and substituting a semicolon, and B, inserting immediately after the paragraph G the following new paragraph. H, if he, having been a candidate of a political party and elected to the House as a candidate of that political party, resigns from that political party, is expelled by that party, or crosses the floor. That's the amendment of Section 45 of the Constitution.
Yes, continue from it, please. Insertion. And so they're inserting Section 45D into the Constitution.
Insertion of Section 45D into the Constitution. 3. The Constitution is amended by inserting immediately after Section 45C the following new section. Vacation of seat where member resigns, is expelled, or crosses the floor. 45D1. Where circumstances referred to in Section 45(1)H arise, the leader of the House of the party as a candidate of which the member was elected shall inform the Speaker in writing of those circumstances, and the Speaker shall, at the sitting of the House next after he is so informed, make a declaration that the member has resigned from or has been expelled by the party or has crossed the floor, as the case may be. 2. Where the declaration referred to in subsection 1 is to the effect that the member has crossed the floor, the member shall forthwith after the vacate his seat. I think that is a typographical error.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Number 3, where the declaration referred to in subsection 1 is to the effect that the member has resigned or has been expelled from the party, and he does not within 14 days after the declaration institute legal proceedings to challenge the allegation that he has resigned or has been expelled by the party, he shall vacate his seat at the end of the period of 14 days. 4. where within 14 days of the declaration by the Speaker referred to in subsection 1, the member institutes legal proceedings as aforesaid, he shall not vacate his seat unless and until either the proceedings are withdrawn or the proceedings are finally determined by a decision upholding the resignation or expulsion, the decision being one that is not open to appeal or in respect of which the time allowed for an appeal has expired without an appeal being filed. 5. From the date of the declaration by the Speaker under subsection 1 that the member has resigned from or has been expelled by the party, the member shall cease to perform his function as a member of the House, and he shall resume the performance of such functions only if and when the legal proceedings referred to in subsection 4 are fully determined within the meaning of that subsection in favor of such member. 6. The standing orders shall make provision for the identification and recognition of the leader of the business in the House of every party and for otherwise giving effect to this section.
Okay, I think that's it, right?
Yes, it is.
Well, those of you who didn't get a chance to read it, it's very short. We were able to read it together. And as we read it, I want you to, those of you who were here earlier, remember Animal Farm, chapters 5, 7, and 10. But let me go to the lawyer who is here with us. Damien Fanus is here with us. You know, he knows we were trying to get another lawyer. That didn't work out. But if you're watching and you're a lawyer, you can send us notes. Listen, we do this together as a community. All right. Now, Mr. Fanus, Mr. Fanus, let me turn you. Okay, so I'll turn on your mic when you're ready to speak. I would like for you, sir, to tell us in plain words what this bill actually says. For those people who might it be difficult for them to understand, as it relates to resignation from a party by an MP, expulsion from a party, crossing the floor by a party member, right? Can you explain that, all of what we did, this legalese to us right now?
Yes, Marcia, I can. So let me just key takeaways. My first key takeaway from the bill itself. This is not an amendment to prevent process. This is an assault on all opposition. Plain and simple. It is an assault on all opposition. Now, let me just basically frame the bill itself, and so that people can understand why certain provisions were entered into certain sections. So 45 itself speaks about the tenure and the members of the assembly. And 45.1 says the seat of a member of the House of Assembly shall become vacant. And it goes from A to G. That is the qualifying provision. And then it lists the criteria of where the seat will become vacant. And that's through the dissolution of parliament, the resignation of the person as minister, because you know you can resign from the party, but you can still retain back then, before this, if this amendment is passed, you could have resigned from a party but still be a minister. You had to be an independent minister, or you could have crossed the floor. If you do not show up, if you kind of like you're absent for one too many times from parliament, and basically, you know, if you're expelled from the House Assembly as a minister yourself. So A to G speaks about those different types of criteria where the seat can become vacant. Now, the insertion of H after G, right? And then we'll read it again. If he, having been a candidate of a political party and elected in the House as a candidate of the political party, resigns from the political party, is expelled by that party, or crosses the floor. So that now basically says that the seat will become vacant once you resign from the political party, once you're expelled from the political party, or basically if you cross the floor. Now it casts your minds back to when the Honorable Owen Arthur, he would have resigned from the Barbados party and would have been an independent. he would have retained the position of minister, but he would have been an independent minister. This provision basically stops that. Once you resign from the party, you're basically not a minister anymore. The same thing that happened with Dr. Maria Agard, where it says that if you're expelled, Dr. Maria Agard was expelled from the Barbados Labour Party, and there were even questions of natural justice and due process that had came up in the way that she was expelled. But as it stands now, that is all in the history books. If you're now expelled from the party, you do not retain the position of minister. And now if you cross the floor, like in the situation recently where we had with our political leader, Ralph Torn, that also now disqualifies you, and you basically vacate the seat and you are no longer a minister. So what this position basically does, it actually calls a by-election, because once the seat is vacant, there has to be a by-election. That seat has to be filled because the people of that particular constituency would have to have a representative. So it basically just it qualifies for a by-election to take place.
So you're saying, Damien, Mr. Fanus, that previously you could resign as a minister, but you still be an MP.
Yes, because we would have seen that instant. We would have seen that instant with the Honorable Owen Arthur, where he resigned from the Barbados Labour Party and was an independent in the House. He would have still retained his ministerial duties, and I guess in a sense representing his constituency. But no, this provision changes that.
So but when it's a ministerial, he still was an MP.
Yeah, basically he was basically an MP, and MPs do have duties to their constituency.
To their constituency, I understand. I understand what you are saying there. Now, there's some questions that I have here, because I want to understand something here, and I'm going to ask some things that some people might think it's obvious, but I just want to make sure that we all understand. Who defines the crossing the floor? Who is going to define that?
Well, that's the thing, because crossing the floor wasn't basic. It's not it's a term of art, but it wasn't a defined term of art. You obviously knew that when you cross the floor, you're basically resigning from one party and joining another. More than likely the opposition party that would have been in the House or is in the House during that time. So there isn't a definition by law for crossing the floor, but that I have seen in any legislation whatsoever until now, because this is the first time I've actually seen it being legislated this way. No, it's not something that I believe that someone can just come and coin and just say, oh, okay, we're going to define crossing the floor like this, and then it doesn't happen, because there are certain constitutionality arguments here that would have to come up firstly, and I will get into that later on as I go through my presentation. But to me, it's who defines crossing the floor isn't really the question. The question is why would you put something like this to prevent someone from crossing the floor? Because you would assume that you would have the right to associate or to assemble with whoever you want. So why is it that you would then try to go counter to that, knowing that at the end of the day, this may run afoul of the Constitution?
Interesting. We're gonna get to that. Dr. Ferdinand, is there any question that you have for Mr. Fanus? And then we're going to just read a comment from Verla De Peiza. But go through with your question there, Dr. Ferdinand.
Well, Damien, as I read it through, a couple of things leapt out at me. Number one, you have to go by what is in the bill. Would I be correct with that, sir? The bill is very explicit.
Yes, sir.
I would not, on my own volition, be able to change the language of the bill. Is that correct?
No, not technically, no.
Not technically, because it speaks of if he haven't been a candidate. It does not address a female representative at all. And I may be nitpicking, but it is the language of the bill. I can only go by what the bill says. It says if he. It says it specifically if he, having been a candidate, which suggests to me she is not included. I am leaving that out there. I can be corrected by those with illegal minds such as yourself in terms of that. The second thing I wanted to ask, are political parties recognized in Parliament?
They are not defined in any legislation that I know of, not in the Constitution or any other supporting legislation that I know of. So the question now begs anyone who has a legal mind is that has the Prime Minister opened the door now for a definition of legal parties? Because a legal party does not exist within the legal framework of where that you can say it has a legal personality. So now if you're saying that someone cannot cross the floor to another another political party, I would assume that you would have put at least some provision in there defining what a political party is. So that in itself also is kind of an omission from the bill itself.
Yes.
But really and truly, there is no defined term of political party in any legislation that I know of.
That's why I asked the question, because if there's no defined legal expression of a political party, how can you have a bill, which is a legal document, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, sir. A bill is a legal document, which if it is passed in the House, it goes to the Senate. If it's passed there, it becomes law. Of course, I think it goes to the president then to be proclaimed. I believe that happens. How can you be addressing something that doesn't exist? And you know, in terms of you saying if the person crosses the floor and switches party, but the legal framework for the party, I would have thought the common sense way to have approached this would have been to define or to include the matter of the legal parties within the context of the Constitution or legality, however that is done, I do not know, and then move to this matter. So it seems that you're getting the cart before the horse, in my mind. And then lastly, Marcia, if it's okay, very, very quickly, I noticed something with regard to the speaker. And in speaking concerning the speaker, I believe a reference, Marcia, was made, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just trying to find it. The speaker being a member of the party. From the date of the declaration by the speaker under subsection 1, the member that has been expelled by the party member, but it has something to do with the speaker. And I
recall. So we can look at that a little later.
Okay.
Search for it.
Go right ahead. No, go right ahead.
Yeah, and see if you find it.
I'll review it. Yeah.
I think also, Damien, the people listening wanted us to make it very, very clear. I think I understand what you're saying. The role of the minister versus the MP. I know that the MP has what you're calling ministerial roles, but it's not a minister. So, for example, when Cattle resigned as a minister but remained as an MP, carrying out her functions as a representative to the people there in her constituency. I'm sure that's what you're saying, right?
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. The minister, when you're in cabinet, obviously you would have cabinet duties, right? You would have cabinet duties. If you cross the floor as a cabinet minister, you've given up all of those cabinet duties altogether. Mm-hmm. And now basically the only duties that you have is to your constituency. Because now basically you would have given up that right to be chosen in the cabinet and all those duties of that portfolio. But it doesn't mean that as someone that has crossed the floor, you do not have duties to your constituency itself.
Exactly. I think I understood what you were saying, and I just did that to clarify for people who are listening, and because I understood exactly what you're saying there. Dave, if you can bring up, let's look at we're going through this slowly, but let's look at a document here, or a post here from Verla De Peiza. It was put out on her Facebook page, so it is public. So I'm reading it. It says the proposed constitutional amendment is published, and all sorts of issues fly off the page. Verla De Peiza says, remembering that a constitution is intended to be a contract between a people and their government. Has it gone too far? Was it even necessary? Is it a hammer to kill a mosquito? Remembering the expulsion of Maria Agard, which you referenced earlier, from the BLP, could the threat of losing your place in Parliament with attendant financial consequences be used as a stick to keep MPs in line? Recalling that independents still run for elections and may one day win a seat. Is it okay for them to then join a political party? Does that not defy the supposed spirit of the provision? And at last but not least, what is a political party? When have we ever seen them on a ballot? Are they defined in law? And how does the Constitution itself insert itself into the constitution of a political party? Just a few preliminary concerns, but I do not expect any of the 30 sitting. Dave, if it could go up a little, I have to wait till it goes up. Can't go any further. Sorry, thank you. But I do not expect any of the 30 sitting members to speak against it, and the composition of the Senate offers no comfort either. So these are just moot points, right? Damien, let's talk about this thing about a contract. This contract that, Dave, if you could go up to the top of this post, where she's saying that the Constitution is intended to be a contract between a people and their government. Can you make a comment on that in relation to this amendment of the Constitution?
No, the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. There is no law above it. There's no law that can subvert it. No legislation that can subvert it. So then when you say that the Constitution is a contract with its people and its government, the government is who are supposed to uphold the constitutional rights of its people. They're supposed to uphold them and not infringe them on them. So basically, when you have a government that they introduce an amendment that runs counter to the supremacy of the Constitution, even though they might insert the provision itself inside of the Constitution, the fact that the Constitution upholds the unalienable rights of the citizen of Barbados, there's nothing that you can enact that should basically curtail that. Because there's certain things within the constitutions that are protected. Your freedom of thought, your freedom of expression, your freedom to assemble, and if there are provisions that run counter to that, then that law has to be struck down, because that is the contract that you have with the people. You are not supposed to bring any law that circumvents a right unreasonably against the people.
Yeah, and so when she says, just a minute there, Dr. Ferdinand, I'm not sure if you have a question, but I'm following on here, where she says, are we using a hammer to kill a mosquito? Explain that concept, and why just to the average person, because a lot of people on here, they're not into all of these legalese. Why would she use that analogy?
Well, because to me, it seems a bit heavy-handed. It seems a bit heavy-handed for something that has been a common Caribbean practice for far. Many people have crossed the floor before. Most famously, Hamilton Lashley has done it several times, and every time he crossed the floor, he won. So, I it feels as if like the government is just trying to strangle any form of opposition whatsoever, under the guise that, okay, this is a nuisance and this is something that should not be tolerated. But when really and truly, there's some things you just cannot legislate for, and you shouldn't legislate for. Because when you do your analysis of what are the rights that you would have better to bring this law into fruition, and you see that you're going to run counter against this particular right and that particular right, next particular right, then you shouldn't bring it. It is the right of individuals to change their mind, basically, to put it as basic as that. I have a right, I have a protected right to change my mind. If I subscribe to one political philosophy for X amount of years, and then one day I wake up and say, you know what, this political philosophy does not serve me anymore because I'm seeing certain things creep into my organization that I do not agree with. So are you saying now that I don't have that right to change my mind and to act upon it? That is how this comes across. It comes across as an overkill of a practice that really and truly it doesn't bring any of the democratic process into disrepute, or it doesn't erode any democratic norms or any democratic guardrails. It is just something that, yes, maybe it might be a nuisance to the party that loses the said minister as he crosses the floor. But at the end of the day, it's not something that you could tell yourself, well, okay, I'm going to cut this out because I'm going to take away that right. Makes absolutely no sense to me.
Yes, yes. Dr. Ferdy, any question that you have?
All I can say, Marcia, is that Verla substantiates, or should I say, underscores my sentiments exactly in terms of the political parties, because the people sit in the House of Assembly. There are 30 independent representatives of 30 constituencies in Barbados. There is no political party sitting in the House of Assembly. The BLP does not sit there. The DLP does not sit there. What sits there are 30 independent individual constituency representatives. If they choose, by virtue of their association with a group, to move to another group, Damien is absolutely correct. That is a protected feature within the context of our Constitution, so that this bill attempts to override the Constitution, and as such, in itself, I'll wait to see who are the legislators that are going to take this up and carry it to the courts. That's what I'm waiting to see, because it attempts to overrule the Constitution of the island where it comes to freedom of association. And that is a very serious matter. What is it? Let me be brutally frank. It's to shut up dissenting voices. Don't let's beat around the bush on this. That is what it is. To shut up any dissenting voices. That's it.
Yeah. Somebody here, Jamel, I'm not sure I understand the comment. Jamel is saying, don't you all feel this is a public opinion? Can you explain that, what you're saying there? I'm curious to find out what you are actually saying there. But so let me ask you, if the Constitution, you just said, Damien, that it protects freedom of association, and an MP leaves a party, does attaching the loss of the seat to that decision, does that punish the exercise of that right? Is that right being punished? In your opinion?
It's definitely a punishment. It's basically a deterrent, saying that, okay, if you decide to cross the floor, we're going to take this away from you. We're basically going to take away what you have worked for, and basically what the people have voted for. But I want to draw this scenario where that I believe that crossing the floor is still viable. Let's say that we do have a government who has all 30 seats, and there is a policy or a piece of legislation that is going to be enacted very soon, because we as the normal laypersons, we're not behind those cabinet doors. We do not know what is being said. We do not know what is being done. So those persons who are privy to that obviously would be those 30 individuals who have that access. but there's something that's about to be enacted or something that's about to be passed, or they're going to introduce this particular legislation or policy. And I myself, being one of the 30 individuals, tell in my analysis of it, and even though I might say, well, no, I don't think I sound the alarm and said this is going to be very problematic.
Yeah.
This is going to be very, very, very problematic. But the party is hell bent on going ahead with it full steam, down the torpedoes, full steam ahead. I am the only dissenting voice, and I believe that the Barbadian people need a dissenting voice in the house. They need a dissenting voice in the house. What do I do then? Do I keep quiet, or do I take up what is available to me, and that is resigning from the party and going across maybe to another party, or maybe even remaining independent? That is up to you. But you cross to another party that has the resources and you then and have the personnel that you can find support for what your argument is and say, listen, this is wrong. This is going to affect each and every single Barbadian man, woman, and child, and I do not agree with it. So that this legislation, in a sense, prevents that, because I'm not going to call anyone a tyrant or autocrat or whatever, but the the formula is right now. We have all of the conditions met right now for autocracy to creep in. This is just another example of autocracy creeping in. Because if you can tell me I don't want an opposition, and then you legislate not to have an opposition, that is autocracy.
You know, Damien, as we went through the piece of legislation, there is a 14-day court window in some cases, right? In fact, I'm just trying to remember when the 14-day is. Okay, if you're actually expelled, there is a 14-day window that you can actually start legal proceedings. But if you cross the floor, right, there is no 14-day window. Automatically you're out. I don't know if you understand it. See if you understand that for me and those of you who are watching. The 14-day window seem to not apply to crossing. There's no built-in 14-day window. And I have a question. I'm wondering, isn't that something that can be taken to court, that you did not have any, there was no chance for you to, to appeal or do anything?
So this is the way that I read it, right? This is
That
the way
you
that
read it. Dave, can you put it back on the screen if you can? That section. Go ahead.
So okay, so this is the way that I read it. So I'm going to actually go through different pieces of the legislation itself. So we have to go back to 45H. We have to go back to 45H. Remember that 45H says that the seat becomes vacant once you resign, once you're expelled, or you cross the floor, right? Now, 45D, which references 45H, 45.1H says, where circumstances referred to in the section 45.1H arise, the leader of the house, this is kind of ambiguous in itself, which leader do you mean? The party as a candidate of which the member was, right, shall inform the speaker in writing of those circumstances. The speaker shall, in the sitting of the house, next, after he is so informed, make a declaration that the member has resigned and has been expelled from the party, or has been expelled from the party as crossed the floor. So coming back down to subsection 2, where it says, where the declaration referred to in the subsection is that the effect of the member has crossed the floor, and the member shall forfeit after vacate his title. So that all there's the linkage there to show you that these three things, these three actions allow you, well, they qualify you to vacate the seat itself. Now, when you come down to subsection 3, where the declaration referred to in subsection is that the effect that the member has resigned or has been expelled from the party, or he has not within 14 days after the declaration institutes legal proceedings to challenge the allegation that he has resigned or has been expelled by the party, he shall vacate his seat and at the end of the period of 14 days. So this is where the confusion plays in. This is where the confusion plays in. You're stating that, okay, from the time you've crossed the floor, from the time you've resigned, or from the time you're expelled, you are out of the seat. The seat is vacant. So then technically then obviously then there's no opposition, there's no leader of opposition then. So that means that you basically try to crush that. You crush being able for someone to become the leader of opposition.
Oh,
but then
okay, say that again. Say that slowly, because I was wondering. So you're saying that because there is no built-in 14-day window, you would never get a chance to become leader of opposition, not even an hour. You would be gone.
You have to exercise your legal right within that 14 days. If not, basically, then you cannot become the leader of opposition whatsoever. But know that you've given the provision for this person to seek a legal recourse. Does that mean now that person becomes the leader of the opposition? So then technically, because basically you're saying, because if you come down, then you're basically saying that, okay, this person, because let's go to 4. Let's read 4. Where within 14 days of the declaration by the speaker referred to in subsection 1, the member institutes its legal proceedings as said, he shall not vacate his seat. So once you start the legal proceedings, your seat cannot be vacated. So then what is the government here saying? Because this looks like this was drafted with crayons. Because the confusion comes now where you're saying, okay, you vacate the seat from the time you cross the floor, you resign, or you're expelled. So, okay, so that's the end of that, unless you start legal proceedings. So once I start legal proceedings, then that means that I should be the leader of the opposition then, doesn't it? Because then that's a stay of execution. So basically then I still become the leader of opposition. But here is where the nefariousness of all of these legislation, these provisions, these legislative provisions come down, and they actually really see what it is that they're trying to do now. So when you come down to subsection 5, it says that from the date of the declaration by the speaker under subsection 1 that the member has resigned from or has been expelled from the party shall cease to perform his functions as a member of the House. This provision, this section 5 is set to silence you. It means that even if you enact legal proceedings, you will now become the leader of the opposition. But this provision now, section 5, basically says no. Subsection 5 says no, you will not have duties whatsoever. So that's basically to silence you. So then you can actually look at it then as like, so if I start an action to prevent you from vacating my seat, does that mean that I'm going to be a minister who's going to be paid as the leader of opposition until the legal matter is resolved? So then I will be drawing a salary basically not for free. So then what happens when you have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people trying to cross the floor, and they all bring legal action to solve? Then that means you will have probably 7 or 8 ministers who are being paid to do nothing. And they're silenced because they can't go and debate inside of the House because you're trying to take that away from them. So it's basically this whole thing to just silence any form of opposition whatsoever.
Wow, this is quite interesting. Dave, can you go back up to, I think it's 4? Go right back. Go up. Keep going. Go to the next one. Go up to 2. Is it? I'm trying to remember. Yes, thank you. Yeah, I'm looking for the section about the 14 days.
That is in section 3.
It's 3.
Yes. Where the
Right.
declaration referred to in subsection 1 is to the effect that the member has resigned or has been expelled from the party, and he does not within 14 days after the declaration institute legal proceedings to challenge the allegation that he has resigned or has been expelled, he shall vacate his seat at the end of the period of 14 days.
Yeah. The thing in there, it doesn't say anything about crossing the floor.
Well,
So it's only if you're expelled or if you resign, it seemed like it applies. The 14 days apply. You were saying
Yes.
something, Doctor?
Yes, section 2. Section 2 says, sorry, go ahead, Damien.
You have to look at the declaration itself. The declaration from the spirit itself is what encompasses all of that. Because then when you go back to section 45D, the candidate of which member was elected shall inform the speaker in writing of those circumstances. The speaker shall, in the sitting of the House, next after he is so informed, make a declaration that the member has resigned from or has been expelled or has crossed the floor. So the declaration covers all of that.
I got you. Yes.
So after the declaration, you then have 14 days to mount a legal challenge. And if you don't mount that legal challenge, then the seat is so vacated. But my question is, the seat is so vacated if you do not mount the legal challenge, right? So, but my question is that if I cross the floor, resign, or whatever, if I cross the floor or resign or whatever, what does that make me when I mount the legal challenge? What does that mount me? It clearly states, because when you come down now, I think it's when you come down to 45.4. I think 45.4 states that the seat shall not be vacated. It shall not be vacated once you've mounted the legal challenge. So then technically I'm still an MP. I'm an MP that looks to cross the floor. And you can't stop me from, I can resign from your party and then go and sign an application form to join another. You can't stop that. And if it just so happens that I'm still in the House and I'm not representing any other political party, what does that make me? Does that not make me the leader of the opposition? Just that you are just trying to silence those individuals with subsection 5 now, with 45.5. The 45.5 now, you're basically saying, no, you don't have any duties. You will have no duties. You will have no voice. So it doesn't matter if you start legal proceedings. We are shutting you up. You will have nothing to do other than to just draw a salary. My question to the government is that when there are about 10 people who decide to resign, do all of those persons still get their pay for doing nothing? Is it a situation that where you would feel comfortable sitting down, taking away the voice of an individual and still paying them to do nothing until the legal matter is resolved, whether they say, well, okay, you are so expelled or not?
Wow. Somebody is asking here. There was a good question here, and someone is saying here, Daniel, that in section 5 there, that they are making reference to party, and because when I read it today, I was wondering why are they making reference to party when when party doesn't really I'm just using doesn't really exist. Well, why are they doing that here? Is it that they're planning to pass another piece of legislation that would then recognize parties?
But Marcia, in terms of the recognition of an organization, and Damien, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, don't you have to register?
Right. So that's why I was asking Damien. Is it that is there going to be another something? Are they going to then put in place the registration of parties, because they're mentioning it here in this amendment?
Again, to me, that seems horse. Isn't that something that you should have included here, there, and then? Sense in mentioning it here now in 45.5? What is the sense in mentioning it here now if you're not going to, at least if you haven't beforehand defined what a political party is? To me, the bill is poorly drafted. It is poorly drafted, and there's so many questions that arise out of it. Because then if you're telling me that the seat isn't vacated once a month of legal challenge, then what? That means I remain a minister. That means I remain a minister. I remain a minister, or sorry, an MP. I remain an MP, and I'm use the term minister basically interchangeably, right? I'm still an MP, and that makes me the lone opposition. Does not be the leader of the opposition.
All right,
So
we have a call coming in here. It's not quite 9 yet, but I'm going to go ahead and take this call. Let's see. Caller, welcome to the Marcia Week Show.
Hi, good night. How are you doing?
Good night. I think I know this voice. Go right ahead.
Okay. Basically, I think we're sticking to overcomplicate things here. This bill is a wicked bill designed to really threaten our democracy. And it is very simple to understand, because what this bill is seeking to do is to change the constitution so that if a member of parliament was elected as a candidate for a political party, and that member of parliament then resigned from that party, or was expelled from that party, or crosses the floor, they can be forced out of parliament. The bill says it's about promoting political stability, but it's not. And here's how it works. A political leader in parliament writes the speaker.
Well, hold a second. I think they're saying that you're low. Can you hear him properly, Dr. Ferdinand? Can you hear the caller?
Yes, I'm hearing him clearly.
Okay. I know my volume is low, which is why, thank you, callers, which is why I am trying not to speak while the caller is on. Okay,
your
volume is low. Go
your
ahead.
volume is actually very high.
Go ahead and speak. Go ahead.
Okay. Now, as I said, how this bill works is that a party leader in parliament will write the speaker saying that the MP has resigned or was expelled or crossed the floor. The speaker makes what Damien is referring to as a declaration at the next sitting of the House. If the speaker says the MP crossed the floor, the MP immediately loses the seat. There's no 14 days in there at all. As long as the speaker declares that the person has crossed the floor, they immediately vacate the seat. Right? In the instance of a resignation or expulsion, that is when the 14 days chip in and the MP can go to court. But crucially, the MP is immediately prevented from performing their duties in Parliament while the case is ongoing. So any declaration by the Speaker in the first instance causes the MP to lose their seat. In the second instance, even if they go to court, they are prevented from performing their duties as a member of Parliament. Now, this is a threat to democracy because it takes the power away from the voters towards party leadership, and it silences in member of Parliament quickly. For example, the voters elected that person to Parliament, but this bill makes the seat dependent on the person's party status. Let me repeat that. The electorate elects the person to serve them in the House of Assembly, but this government is imposing a bill upon them where it's saying that that person's right to remain in the House of Assembly is dependent on their status within a political party that is not recognized under the law of Barbados. And the party leader triggers the process just by writing the speaker That's how it's triggered. The party leader only has to write the speaker, this quote unquote independent speaker. The speaker must declare it quickly at the very next sitting. The speaker has to declare that the person has vacated their seat. And the whole idea of what crossing the floor is not defined. And even if the member of parliament sues and go to court, they are silent immediately. They can't perform any functions until the court resolves that issue. And you know how it is in Barbados court. That can take 3 years, 5 years, 6 years, 10 years. So that can so all this bill does, in the essence of a one-party parliament, is to prevent member of parliament from speaking freely, and it punishes a person's independence by removing the internal checks and balances, and making parliament less able to restrain executive power. So this is another power grab by a despotic government, designed to not only now silence the voices of the member of parliament, but depriving representatives, the electorate of representation that they elected quite recently.
Yeah. Let me ask you, I hope that those can hear me. I know I'm very low right now. And let me ask you something to the caller. Caller, somebody wrote in the comment section. Can you still hear me, Dr. Ferdinand? Give me a thumbs up if you can still hear me. Can you hear me? Okay. Somebody wrote in the comment section that this is a distraction. We shouldn't be discussing this. Do you believe this is a distraction to the citizens, that we should forget about this and don't discuss it? Caller?
So that person will have to be the author of this bill to come to that conclusion. Because I mean, let's look at this realistically. We only just come up with a general election. And the very first sitting of the House is likely to debate this bill. The very first sitting. So it cannot be a distraction. This is a deliberate attempt on the part of this government to deprive persons of the legitimate right to associate, and to deprive constituencies of the right of their MP to have a free conscience and to debate the issues as they see it. It is wrong. And such a significant change in the Constitution of Barbados is being done before consulting the people of Barbados. This was never mentioned during the last election that was just run. This was never put on the table. It's only after they won, you're suddenly hearing that this is the matter that they're going to bring as a matter of priority. But they never discussed it with the people of Barbados during the last election campaign. That was a few days ago.
Very, very interesting. And I'm glad you answered that question, because I was curious, because sometimes, it's important to know when it's a distraction and when it is something that we need to look at. And especially in this one-party parliament, I think that anything of this sort, we need to look into it. Damien, is there anything you want to say to the caller before the caller goes?
Just basically that I agree with his analysis. As I was saying, it is a bill that is an assault on the opposition, all types of opposition.
I'm not hearing Damien.
Yeah, can you hear him? Are you guys hearing Damien?
No.
We're not.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, I'll translate, caller. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Right. So I agree with what the caller says. Basically, it is a bill to silence and prevent persons from crossing the floor. I believe it is an assault on all opposition. All opposition wants. Once you understand what it's intending to do, it is to wipe out all forms of opposition altogether. So it prevents you from even crossing the floor, and basically resigning from the party, even if you tell yourself, well, I don't want to join an opposition. I want to be independent. I want to be independent. My views don't align with this party anymore. They don't even want you to be an independent. They're looking to take that away from you as well. So even when the language in the bill, when it says that you will not have any duties, that is to silence you. That is basically to say, well, listen, you will, even though that you initiated legal proceedings, and there will be a stay on you vacating your seat, you will have absolutely nothing to do. You have no power to say anything. So that's basically the crux of the bill.
Yeah. Yeah, he's basically agreeing with you. For some reason, I can't hear him. But and he's saying that it's an assault on all of us. Caller, thank you so much for calling. Is there anything else that you want to share? Want to say before we go? You go.
Not tonight. I'm too angry to share anything else.
You're too upset to share anything else. Thank you. Well, listen, and as we go along, feel free to give us a call back. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, caller. Yes. Guys, the telephone line is officially, and please call us via WhatsApp. WhatsApp is the best way to reach us. Call us via WhatsApp. Dr. Ferdinand, is there anything you wanna share there? Ooh, there's a caller coming in, Dr. Ferdinand. Hold a second. Hi, good night, Ross. I can see that's you. Can you turn down turn off your device? Good night. A pleasure having you. Go right ahead.
Yeah, good night. I want to say a few things on what both the lawyer and the other guy said. It seems as though what is going on in Barbados right now is that the preceding government doesn't know how to file different things in law in the country. They're sitting there so brilliant lawyers, but I see why they don't want Mr. Turn around. They don't know what they're doing when they're filing bills. They don't understand what is the Constitution, because the Constitution is supposed to be the people's rights. So I find in Barbados that everybody, when they say that they don't have a Republican Constitution, there's a reason for that. Because you can take up pieces of the independent Constitution and do as you like. If you had a Constitution, we would have been able to say, well, it's this and it's that. But why all the bills are being walked back is the reason behind the partiality that these bills are being produced to Parliament. It isn't really that they're dealing with purpose. They're dealing with position. These things are done to enhance the position and the things that they have, not to really deal with the people. Because if you understand what a constitution is for, a constitution, I hear everybody saying it all the time, the constitution cannot be bought or sold or pushed aside for all these things that these people are bringing, but nobody don't seem to understand that. Because what happens is that you can bring things and then the courts will give you what you want. But the whole reality of it is they're not even properly brought before Parliament, but yet they're here and there and not solving the problems. These are purposely put before the thing. Every look right through this thing, we are seeing that the horse isn't put in front of the car. The car is being put in front of the horse all the time. And this is the whole problem with everything going on in Barbados. We are putting the horse in front of the car, and then we are criticizing who is bringing the right things to show you what is right and calling them names rather than see what is true. We are people now that don't want to see what is right. We are making what is right wrong and what is wrong right. So it's just a matter of time. Have a nice night.
Caller, don't go. Let me ask you if you could hear me. Caller, do you think this? Can you hear me, caller?
Yeah.
Do you think that the average Barbadian should be concerned about this bill? And if so, why?
Very much so, but they don't understand. As a matter of fact, all the bills that have been walked back, the people don't understand. Otherwise, they would not have made a decision to vote this government in power. you're giving them a second chance to do the thing that was walked back and couldn't be done to do now, because what happens is they always call for the power first and then do as they like.
So
can you see that? Can you see that the cat is being put before the horse?
Agree. So let me ask
give
you.
People power, you are at their mercy. You go to court and you tell the magistrate that you're guilty. There's no reason for you to have any say because you are already guilty. We are putting the cat before the horse. Why can people wake up and see these things? We just give them all the power in the world, and now we complaining about the laws they're passing. Well, we saw it before. We saw it before in the last regime. You give them 30 more seats, and now we are begging about the laws that passed. We had an opposition. One person that everybody criticized, condemned for speaking the truth. Can we as a people wake up and realize that we know what is the truth? Or are we only interested in parties and joy making? Look at the people that now put in the Senate. Can't you see that there's a reason not to have anybody in there mentally capable to oppose anything? Why we can't wake up? Have a nice night. Because I think sometimes it's a waste of time talking.
Okay, thank you, caller.
I think the response and the reaction of the people, why talk? People talk about Mr. Thorne, but they don't know why Mr. Thorne would worry head with people that be. They don't tell Mr. Thorne what the Senate. Why did they vote him in the seat and have the representation? Why we can't wake up? Why we always got to put the horse behind the cart? Well, the cart can't pull the horse? Good night and have a nice night.
Good night, sir. Thank you for calling. Let me just Damien, you are our guest here. Oh boy, there's another caller coming in. This is their time. So write down any questions or thoughts you have there, Damien. Let's go to this caller. Caller, welcome to the Marcia Week Show.
Thank you. Good night, everybody. Good night, Damien. Good night, Dr. Ferdinand. Good night, Marcia. Good night, lawyer opposition. Is just interesting perspective I want to look at here. This present government got in with a percentage of 30% of the electoral was able to get this particular government in. Let's say that 20% wanted them in. And now we have representatives of the 30 seats to represent 100% of Barbados. Okay? Now get this. The 20% that voted them in now are going to be put under pressure because whoever is in charge doesn't want the 30 representatives to speak or cross the floor. They want to be controlled. Mm-hmm. There is something wrong with this equation. Either they are supposed to help the rest of Barbados or they should get somebody else to do it. In other words, have another election, because something seems to be wrong with the analogy. 20% cannot have a voice in Parliament anymore, because if they say something that is not liked, it can be tossed out. That's not good. That's not happening. Something is diabolically wrong. Mm-hmm. I keep saying that.
Thank you so much, caller. Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
Yes. Dave, over to you.
Yes, Marcia. What I
speak up a little bit for us. Speak up a little bit, please.
What I'm gathering from the calls that are coming through on the show is that people, I'm actually very glad to see this and hear this, that people are aware. There are people who see what is going on, and it's not lost upon them that this government is trying to silence every voice of opposition before they even get off the ground. So what the people need to do is to continue to hold this government accountable. They need to kick up such a stink that this is wrong, because it's poorly drafted. There's certain parts that are ambiguous. There's certain parts that allows persons to basically still be in parliament, probably draw a salary, but have absolutely nothing to do because you don't want them to speak. So basically, this bill, to me, the person that drafted this bill should be ashamed of himself. This government should be ashamed of themselves, because they basically speak about they are the competent ones, and they're the ones that should be, that the fate of the country should be left in their hands. How can we trust you when you're bringing this garbage? This is hot garbage. This bill is hot garbage. That is the best way that I can describe it. And whoever put this before the people, I don't know, you should be ashamed of yourself, because this is an assault on all constitutional rights. Well, basically the freedom of thought, the freedom of expression, and the freedom of assembly. Because I want people to understand that the freedom of thought, what it does speak about religion. When you read section, because I think it is section 19, that's section 19 of the Constitution, that speaks to the freedom of consciousness. Consciousness, when you read the provision, it says thought itself is protected, not just religious thought, which includes political thought. I have it here, because I have my notes here. Right, let me read the provision. Except with his own consent, no person, right, section 19, no person shall be hindered in the enjoyment of his freedom of conscience, and for the purpose of this section, the said freedom includes freedom of thought and of religion. So that means that freedom of thought and religion, those are two separate things. Thought could include political thought, political philosophy. So basically, this bill even offends that. And the freedom of expression for you to come now and express yourself to the people and tell the people, listen, there's something wrong with this government, and the things that they're doing are not in the best interest of the people. They're even trying to stifle that. So among people might look at, yes, the freedom of assembly is what's really being assaulted here, but there are other constitutional rights that we have to consider in regards to what this bill is trying to do.
Mrs. Weeks.
Yes, good night. Good night. There is a caller, Damien. Sorry about that. I was muted. Go ahead, caller. Welcome.
I don't know why it seems to be so complicated. We say that the voters are the ones who are the bosses when it comes to voting.
Yes.
So my thing is, I don't mind an MP deciding to go independent or cross the floor, but I think they should go back to the employers, which are the people, and let the people decide whether we are going to take you as an independent, whether we're going to take you crossing the floor, and maybe that 20% that voted you in the first place, let's say you become an independent and you go back to the people and they tell you what they want by the vote. Maybe that 20% may go to a 40 or 50%. We do not know. But I do believe it should be the people and not the parliament and not the speaker and all of this foolishness, because at the end of the day, it is for the people, by the people. End of story, in my opinion.
So are you saying then that if the speaker, if a minister wants to cross the floor, or an MP wants to cross the floor for a difference of, they now have a difference in thought, they have a different political thought, as political persuasion, etc. You're saying that they should actually go back and let the people vote them in?
Yes, go back to your people.
They have a by-election.
Take it out of the hands of the prime minister, take it out of the hands of the speaker, have nothing to do with them. Give the power back to the people and say, the people will then say, yes, we'll take you as an independent, or yes, we will take you across the floor. To my mind, it should not have to be in any way to do with the parliament. None of them got in there without us. None of them.
So are you saying then, caller, then supposing, because I think that's what the bill is actually saying, that that they said if you want to cross the floor, you immediately you are no longer part of the party. You're no longer you're no longer MP. You have to go back and do an election. That is what the bill is saying.
Yeah, but the bill is saying that immediately we're striking you off. No, nobody in the House of Assembly has the right. The people have the right.
I got you.
I'm saying bypass all of those people in Parliament, including the PM. Go back to your people. Tell your people, well, my alignment is different, and these are my reasons, and I want you to walk this distance with me. We're going back to the polls. You may get more people than even voted in the first time around, but I think the power has to remain with the people. With the people.
The people. Okay. Thank you so much, caller. Thank you very much. Understood. Thank you. Damien, your thoughts on that? The power remains with the people and believes that you heard, let me not repeat.
No, two thoughts jump out to me with the last caller's assertion, because like you said, yes, regardless of if you see people or not, there still will be a by-election. There still will be unless your legal challenge stays off that assault on your right. And then my thing is though is that I'm kind of hesitant to use the system of recall for persons who might want to fall, because this is my thing. I might have been a minister who was in my constituency more time and more time. I did a very, 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 very good job, you know. But I do not agree with what is my philosophies don't align with the party anymore. Should I have to be recalled by people? Should I have to be recalled even though I'm there, I'm visible, I'm doing a good job, but I'm telling you, listen, there's clear and present danger here, and this is what I crossed for. Should I be recalled? So if that is what the caller was trying to imply, that that we should automatically have a by-election, I'm not in agreement with that. I'm not in agreement with that, or even the system of recalling that particular person who might tell themselves, well, listen, I need to resign from this party. I hesitate to endorse that.
Okay. While we wait on the other caller, Dr. Ferdinand, any quick thoughts that you might have there?
The reality is, Marcia, that people vote party lines very often in this country. That's why independents have such a minimal possibility.
Dr. Ferdinand, I hate to have to do this to you, but I know
that's all right. A call is coming in.
So independents have such a minimal possibility.
Can you hear me? Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you loud and clear.
Okay. Caller.
Hello.
We're having a lot of interference here. Caller, go right ahead, please.
All right. Listening to your program and the assessment of the proposed change to the Constitution, and also listening to the fellow callers. And what I'm picking up, I am thinking that we have a conundrum existing in our political construct relative to the fact that we go out to our populace and our electorate on the bandwagon of political parties.
Mm-hmm.
However, political parties are not a recognized entity in the Parliament of Barbados. When we run an election, really and truly, we are supposed to be running
30 elections at one time. That is that we are seeking to elect 30 representatives, so 60 or more persons present themselves or to represent a particular constituency in the House of Assembly. Among those 30 persons that win the first past the poll, when they align in the House of Assemblies, the greatest amount that represent an individual decides who will become the Prime Minister. But what we have created is that we enter the House saying that we are going in with two parties when the House does not recognize political parties. And now you're seeking to interject in the Constitution if a member is dismissed from their party or they resign from their party. I did not hear if a member decides not to be a part of the majority who would form the government or support the government. Because I am of the opinion that when you get in the House, you could decide that I don't want to support the government. I have been elected and I don't really want to support the government. So you sit either as an independent or you sit, but then again, we should not even be saying independent. You just sit on the back bench. Because we do not recognize parties in the House of Assembly. So where are we going with this thing? It is against that backdrop that I am thinking that we have a conundrum existing, and I'm not sure if this is going to solve it. Because we are introducing something that currently don't exist. Are we going to have another piece of another bill coming before the House,
correct,
to bring some credence to parties?
That's my question.
That can be the only way I can see that this bill can have any real standing. I agree with your guest there, other than Mr. Ferdinand, Mr. Fanus, that it is encroaching on the fundamental principles of the Constitution of the right of association. Because you're saying to me, if somewhere down the line I decide I don't like Marcia Weekes show anymore, so I am going to go and watch TDT TV or something, so I am not entitled to do that? I believe that we need to revisit this bill. And in addition, there's so much other things that you need to start talking about too, Marcia, in this manner. And that is this thing with the independent speaker, that the person just walk away from a constituency a few months ago, it could be 2 months, so long? I don't even think it's 2 months. They walk away from representing a constituency, sitting in the seat of the speaker, and now they are returned and they're being considered an independent speaker. Can someone define for me what is meant by independent?
We actually went through that a bit last night. I don't know if you're watching last night's show.
No, I meant last
Right,
night's
you
show.
should really watch last night's show. We spent a lot of time on that. So let me ask you.
Did you refer to the section of the bill that was changed or amended to address of course, I need to be reminded of that section.
Yes, we went through that. We went through that last night.
Okay.
At length. So
I'll
go over that. But so the question, caller, is whether the seat in question. We're taking it back to this constitutional amendment. Whether the seat belonged to the electorate or the party machinery. Does the seat belong to right now? Does the seat
You
belong
see,
to
that's why I said that it appears that we seem to have a conundrum, because when we go to the electorate, we present a party ticket, we present a party platform, and the electorate go out there and they rally around whichever party they are aligned with. So, for instance, in this regard, what I'm saying is given that the current administration and the present party that holds the majority in the House, they would have recognized that they are popular in the constituency. So if one of their candidates, one of their members now decided, I don't want to sit with you anymore, I'm going to go over on the other side, which is termed the opposition benches, I'm going to go and oppose you, they know that if they have, that person has to go back to the electorate, that obviously whatever it is they want to pass through the House, the new person they put in there will be successful because the person would have won on the ticket of the ruling party. Wow. Because they present party to the electorate.
That's correct. They don't present.
The last election that we just went through.
That's right.
Marcia and fellow persons on your panel there, they did not run 30 elections. They did a presidential style election.
That's
where
correct.
There was one, almost like if there was one candidate on all 30 ballot papers, which was the prime minister. In every constituency, you was hearing vote for the prime minister, vote for leadership, vote for the prime minister. What was happening with representation? Nobody was focusing on the representation at the local or parochial level, which is the constituency.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, very interesting. I know you got to go, but you're a very interesting caller. Let me just say, there's a gentleman here.
Thank you very much for taking my call.
Yeah, he's saying that the seat belongs to the party and not to the individual member of parliament.
That's not true.
That's interesting. I wonder why. Anderson Downs, can you call in and explain why? Because there's nothing. We have no registration of parties anywhere. Inside one.
That's the challenge.
Go ahead.
That's the challenge. That's the problem I'm having. And that's why I said there's a conundrum existing, because we don't recognize parties in the House, but yet when we go to the electorate, we are presenting parties. And very seldom is the concentration on the candidate saying, you know, I'm representing the constituency. First, the electorate focus on party. That's my understanding of our system currently.
Yes.
I can be wrong, but that's my interpretation of it.
But that's the facts. You know, we deal with representative. It's representative democracy versus party. That is a fact, and and that's why I kept saying it seems like something else is going to happen here. They need to come with
something else. Got to be coming.
Because this can't stand up by itself. Is what I'm saying. Thank you so much, caller.
Thank you so much for taking my call.
Yes, very, very good. Very, very. Yes, Dr. Ferdinand, you were speaking. You have to go quickly in case another caller comes. Go
Marcia,
right ahead.
I would tell you, I'm just smiling listening to all these contributions. To be honest with you, the reality is that we recognize parties in elections and we recognize parties in parliament. That's a reality. It's not legal, it's not parliamentary, but that is the people of the country. That is the political parties. When you go into the House of Assembly, it's the Barbados Labour Party on one side and the Democratic Labour Party on the other, whichever is making up the government, while it is not recognized. So both inside of Parliament and outside of Parliament, we are connected to party. That is what happened in the last general election. And I agree with the caller. It was a presidential election. Nobody was paying attention to the candidates for the Barbados Labour Party.
Yes,
They were paying
yes.
attention to one person. Go ahead.
Ferdy, just,
Go ahead.
Let's give them the
yes, give them the priority, please.
Go right ahead, caller. Welcome to the Marcia Week Show.
Good night, Marcia. Good night, panel. Good night,
Yes.
everyone.
Good.
I think one of two things. We are at a precipice as a nation to make our name great again, or we are heading downhill and fast. We are tweaking the Constitution consistently, and that is like patchwork on a garment. A garment has so many holes, holes are being created and patches all over that you can't recognize the garment when you're done. And this garment is supposed to cover us. No, if it's supposed to cover us and we can't recognize it because we can't identify with it, what is going to happen to us as a nation? Also, I'm thinking in my mind that there must be a legal way. There's always a hole somewhere where this government can be challenged outside of Parliament, legal in the courts, with some of the bills that they're bringing. There must be some sort of suit that can be brought against this government to stop them from what they're doing. They are literally destroying Barbados. We are actually going backwards, and we're not noticing it. I think that as we go backwards, the people are looking and facing in the opposite direction, and it looks as if we're going forward, but we're not. So, my question to Mr. Fanus is, can he say, point to, or will do research concerning some legal aspect, some legal avenue that we can take? Because this must be stopped. Because if we don't stop it now, if we don't do something now, 2 years, it'll be 2 years too much.
Thank you, caller. Thanks for calling. Mr. Fanus, the question is directed directly to you. Thank you, caller.
Courts will always be an avenue where that people can test.
Damien, can you speak up just a little bit more for us? Thank you so much.
Can you hear me now, Marcia?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Right. The courts will always be a legal avenue for us to test whether the constitutionality of a introduced provision, or any person who might be inside of Parliament themselves, who might have been affected by this, because if it is passed and someone decides to cross the floor, they have all right to bring a constitutional motion, because this basically impacts on your constitutional rights. I believe that the courts are a legal avenue that we can explore, right? But I would leave that to the constitutional scholars to determine what is the best way forward. If there are persons who believe that this is something that needs to be tested, the courts will always remain an avenue for that.
Thank you, Damien. Let me just ask, if you're calling, I saw a call was coming through. It's going to be important that you call, make it a WhatsApp call. Okay, a WhatsApp call. Let's just clarify what is culturally done from what is the truth. The truth of the matter is that parties are not really a party is not really registered. Okay, it's not registered. So you are in terms of law, a party, the Barbados Labour Party, the DLP, and all of that's not really recognized. You know, I'm making it in layman's term. While we do it in practice and say, oh, this is my party, and you're voting for your party, you're really voting for your MP. And I just want to keep repeating that, because I think a lot of people are not, don't really understand. You vote for representation, for that representative, not for the party. That's technically what you do, although culturally, we think in our heads that we do differently. Okay, Those of you who are calling, please call via WhatsApp if I'm going to be able to get your call. All right. Yes. Dr. Ferdinand, you want to jump in quick before, or you? Oh boy, here it is. They're not calling. Or let me let this person know. Can you call? Good night. Welcome to the Marcia Week Show, but you need to call WhatsApp.
No problem.
Thank you very much. Yes. Okay, so that they're going to call WhatsApp because we want to hear. Yeah, go ahead, Dr. Ferdinand.
No,
Let's say,
Marcia, what you have just expressed is exactly correct. The parties are cultural norms. That's what we have done over the years, but there has been no legal representation of any party in this country. I don't know about the new ones that have been formed, if they're registered, but certainly the Barbados Labour Party and Democratic Labour Party are not. And as a result of that, culturally, we have always followed a party. So we are now caught in a quandary where we are bringing legislation to the House of Assembly addressing parties, only to realize that in reality, parties do not exist in the Parliament and in the Senate. The reality is there are 30, I think one of your callers talked about 30 individual elections happening in the country. And there are 30 independent people. And I've said this so many times, Marcia, 30 independent individual representatives in the House of Assembly. Their responsibility is not to represent the Barbados Labour Party, is not to represent the Democratic Labour Party, it's to represent the people of the constituency that voted them into their seat, by the people, for the people, of the people. That is what it ought to be. But the reality or the culture is that we deal with political parties. And until that is rectified, we are going to have these occurrences coming over and over. The same thing happened with a couple of bills some time back as well. And again, one of the callers talked about having to pull back bills. This is a government to pulling back bills because I don't understand how a government with so many attorneys at law and having so much accessibility to the legal frameworks in the country can come up with this kind of legislation and not know that you cannot put something into law that is not legal. And technically, this is what this bill, in my view, is. It's an illegal attempt of the government to shut down dissenting voices. And that's how I see it.
Mm-hmm. Do you Damien, do you think that this, the fact that this mentioned in party and it's constitutionally, it seems like it's something that can be challenged in court. Do you think that this should be allowed to be, well, it's going to be passed because we know they're all there. It's 30 of them. I don't even know what I'm asking. I'm answering my own question. But go right ahead.
To be honest, right? If those 30 individuals, let me say 29, because we're leaving out the Prime Minister in this. We're gonna leave out the Prime Minister. If those 29 individuals allow this to pass the lower chamber, they should be ashamed of themselves.
Yes, I agree.
Because when you read the bill, you can see all sorts of problems that pop up to you. And there are attorneys inside of the party itself. There are attorneys who have been elected to the government. This is something that should not have even given the sight of day. When somebody read this, it's like, no, this is problematic. We need to draw this back. We need to pull this. We need to go back to the drawing board with this. But yet it is out. It is out for us to see, which goes to show you that really and truly they either don't care or they're really incompetent. I'm leaning towards the more they don't care, because there's no way you could read this and tell me that you don't see the problems with it. And if they allow this to pass the lower chamber, they should be ashamed of themselves.
But what about, when you read what the government is saying, is that they are seeking to strengthen stability and remove any amount of insecurity. Is this stability? Do you think that this is reinforcing that or strengthening stability?
So to strengthen stability, you shut up the dissenting voices in your country and prevent an opposition from being formed? That's how you're going to shore up stability? Because that's what they're saying in essence. In order for the government to be stable, I don't see that the last government that sat before this election was unstable because Mr. Thorne was the leader of the opposition. The government continued to do many things. It was the voices of the people that caused the government to pull things back.
Dr. Ferdinand, I hate to disturb you again.
That's okay.
There
That's
is
okay.
a caller. So let me let the caller go through and just hold your
Please.
thought there, please. Caller, welcome and go right ahead.
Good night, Marcia. And
I know this voice. I know this voice. Speak up and let's hear what you have to say.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Very interesting article I read only this afternoon, which makes this situation really, really dangerous.
Yeah.
Whereby is an article which I read because we would have had the case with Maria Agard, who was dismissed from the Barbados Labour Party. So that the fact that if a person crosses the floor, in other words, the person makes a decision to cross the floor, then that person has to go to the electorate if this bill passes. But you're putting the power in the Prime Minister's hand, whether it is the present Prime Minister or another Prime Minister, who determines that this person needs to lose their seat. Because, as will be stated, unfortunate Barbadians have voted for a Prime Minister and not the candidate in their constituency, even though they cast the ballot to the person contesting under the Barbados Party. Because I say this to you that I'm certain that some persons who voted for the individual, they hardly know the individual. They hardly know that person. They're more concerned that Mayor Montley being the Prime Minister is the person that they're voting for. So if the Prime Minister determines one morning, I need to have some person in this particular seat. In this particular seat, the Prime Minister can dismiss that person from the party. And if the Prime Minister dismisses that person from the party, it means now, because the person may be forced to face the electorate. Because if persons are under the party, yes, the legislation does not allow for persons to be under the party, but individuals, it is a dangerous path that we are taking, and it further puts more power in the Prime Minister's hand over the elected representative for the constituencies. And therefore, I think it goes further than just those who believe that they are safe with what happens. And therefore, it prevents 16 of them from coming together and going to the president and says, we have the majority, because that's all it takes for 16 members to go to the president and says, we control the larger number of persons in the House of Assembly, and that person becomes the Prime Minister, not just leader of the opposition. That person can become the Prime Minister. If 6 of them go to nominate one person, and go to the president, that person could become Prime Minister. So therefore, it goes more than just a person seeking to be the leader of the opposition. It puts fear in the hearts of more than one person, but all of them are ever coming together, and she's always at the island. So, they could choose on one of the occasions where she's out of the island, they can choose that occasion to upset seat the Prime Minister. So there are a number of, and I am reading different articles by different persons. I read one from Verla De Peiza. The one I'm speaking about, I didn't get the author of this one, but there's a lot of opinions out there which says that what she's doing is unconstitutional. And I expect that, as Fanus was saying just now recently, this is going to end up in the law court. It's going to end up in the law court. It's going to, I mean, even end up before the Caribbean Court of Justice, right? Because of the legal fraternity in Barbados who are outside of the Barbados Labour Party, they are capable of taking this all the way. Yeah. Okay, so that's my take on it, Marcia, tonight.
Yeah, let me ask you something, caller, before you go.
Yes, please.
Why is this, or is this important to Barbadians? Somebody might say, Marcia, you know what, just let the 30 of them in there, let them deal with it. It's among themselves and their party. Nobody else is in there but the Barbados Labour Party. It doesn't have anything to do with us. What do you say to that person, or do you agree with them?
Let me speak to something that Ian Griffith wrote in the Sunday Sun. He said that when he was canvassing, there was an 8-year-old asked him how much he's paying for a vote. So you're looking at we talk about voter apathy, but you're looking at a generation of individuals as young as 8, as he would have indicated, that their participation in politics in Barbados starts and ends with money. And therefore, we're going to have a situation where persons are going to tune out from following parliamentary debates. I mean, it is poor already. I think more and more persons will tune out from parliamentary debates. And it's going to be left to persons like yourself and the loyal opposition and others to have to keep Barbadians aware. We constantly hear Glenn Murray speaking about civics. And therefore, we are in a state in Barbados right now where, we are not very politically aware. And therefore, with 30 there, more and more persons going to say, look, it's a waste of time. And it's a really dangerous path that we are on. And I think that the eyes of the world are on us. And I don't think they admire us at this present moment.
Interesting. Thank you, caller. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Yes. There's something that is crossing my mind here, but I don't know if I don't know. The lawyer, Dr. Freddie, the rest of the viewers can tell me if I'm thinking of. I'm saying this. If you're saying that the seat, if I want to cross, I have to give up my seat completely. I'm out. I have to go back to the electorate. Am I not saying that the seat belongs to the people and not the party? Do you hear me? You understand what I'm saying? Am I not, when you say that, you are confirming what it is, that because I crossed the floor, I shouldn't have to go back to the people, because you're saying, oh, we're going to get rid of you. You're out of the party. But then you're sending me back to the people. Because when the people voted, you are making an assumption that they voted for party. But when I went in there to vote, it was a face of a person. Does that make any sense? I don't know if I'm getting too deep into this thing.
Well,
Rose, I see you're trying to call. You must call WhatsApp. Let me answer and tell her to call WhatsApp. Rose, can you please call WhatsApp? Don't call regular call. Thank you so much. Call WhatsApp. Yes. Does that sound confusing? Am I going too deep in it, Fanus?
Well, Marcia, I mean, over the years...
Hold a second. Let me ask. I want to hear, because I want to know if my thoughts are weird from the lawyer. But, oh, my goodness, somebody's calling. Hold a second, Damien. good evening, caller. Welcome to the Marcia Week Show.
Good evening, Marcia. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I'm hearing you very clear.
Good. Good night to the panel. No, Marcia, you're making complete sense, and I agree with you 100%.
Okay.
The perception will be because culture, even though we have the first past, the post system, and I agree with most of what all the callers were saying earlier. And I think it was Dr. Ferdinand who had mentioned that we were having 30 elections. A lot of Barbadians do not realize that we were having 30 elections because they have not been educated to that. And also culturally, for the past, let's say 10 years, whatever years, it has not been like that. The educators has been complicit in that. The media houses has been complicit in that. So we are being culturally, even though it has not changed how we vote, we are being definitely changed culturally as to how we look at votership. My other point to this is, yes, in my opinion, the amendment has gone too far, because if there is voters' apathy and you're making constant changes to the Constitution without having the full support of the eligible electoral audience, for lack of better words, why are you making those type of decisions? And this decision that will probably go through, or it would go to court, or whatever the case is, it only benefits the leader of the particular party. It does not, but they're so weak, they would vote for it because, and we don't need to go down that rabbit hole, but it would only benefit one person, because that person can essentially dictate who, when, where, and why. And that is the leader of the particular party.
That's interesting. And I love what you said there, caller, that really this is something that affects Barbadians. I mean, look how passionate everybody is speaking about it. Why isn't that brought back to the people for discussion, whether we want to vote for party or we want to vote for a representative? Why isn't that? Why isn't it brought to the people for discussion? Is that what you're saying, caller?
Yes, that is what I'm essentially saying. But also, one of the callers said earlier, why can't we take it to court? There was a chance for us, not even 2 weeks ago, for us to speak out, and we did not. For us to take a stance, and we did not. Why would it have to go back? Why would it have to go back to the people now when it is that we had a chance? Let's say when was the election called? So we are also playing into this. And the deputy prime minister said that they would treat people how they treat the rat, and they're essentially showing that they will do that. That is my opinion. They're showing that they will do that. Anytime you go against the grain, what if you will be seriously penalized, and that is okay if you have a different type of governance. That is not okay when you're supposed to be having 30 elections. You have the seat because you were voted in the first place. Why should you have to earn it again because you have not your alliance to a particular party has changed?
Wow, very, very interesting. And I love what you're saying. I think you're the only person that brought that in, but it's something that I was saying online to people, that this kind of change, this kind of structural change is something that we should be discussing with the people. It's a big cultural change. Why aren't we taking it to the people? So that we can openly engage in the discussion.
I literally have no idea. I have committed myself since the last general election to finding the science behind the voters' apathy, because it really, really hurts my heart to see what is happening and people just do not care. There has to be a science behind it, and there has to be a way to find change behavior towards it. it is difficult with social media now, because like I said earlier, the educators has been complicit in this cultural one person higher than thou. The media houses push it as well. I mean, the so-called representative pushes as well. So it is hard to really explain to somebody that you should not be voting based on the leader of a party. Yes, that can have some influence. Yes, leadership matters most definitely. But really and truly, you are following the law by voting based on your representative.
Mm-hmm. That's what the law, that's when you go in, that's what you, that is actually. But do you see, last question, caller, do you see this as you know, you run an election under one set of rules, right? These 30, there's one set of rules, and they're elected for a term, and then they change the rules. The prime minister now changed the rules because she might not like a possible political outcome if the person crosses the floor. Do you see it? Is it like changing the rules midstream for you?
Most definitely. And like most things that has been happening with the legislation, like with our constitution, and like the caller said earlier, it's like a government that you literally don't even understand. There's so much things now that have changed. Why would it would be okay for me if 75% of the electorate had voted and this was the outcome? Not because I would have been happy with the outcome, but I would have felt at least a little more a better in morale and ethically that this is a decision that Barbados has made. It does not feel like this is a decision that there's so much decision that has been made that does not feel like if Barbados is behind it. And that is not the fault of the lead. That is not the fault of the prime minister or her cabinet. That's the fault of us.
Yes. Wow, caller, you're on fire. You're on fire. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for calling. I can see Mrs. Rose Corbin is trying to call. If she would call again via WhatsApp, that would be helpful. You know, Damien, I was asking I wanted you to answer, but I think that it's totally gone now. But I'm here thinking, if this is something that is so, I mean, this is you're talking about a constitutional change here. You're talking about cultural change. The more I think about it, why can't we have a set of town halls or feedback, something from the people? Because we have been voting this particular way for time and eternity. You know, why can't we have that? Damien, you haven't said anything in a little bit. Go right ahead.
Well, because this government, can you hear me, Marcia?
Yes, I'm hearing you, but you need to speak up a little bit for us.
Right. So this government, believe them when they show you who they are. This is not the first time that we've criticized them for not consulting the people or coming and putting this out for some form of public consumption and discourse. They do this all the time. They present these things. It doesn't seem like the people are consulted on them. They are full of errors, loopholes, discrepancies, infringement on rights, and then they have to pull it back when the people say, listen, this isn't good enough. This bill is the worst I've seen of their attempt to just pass and force things through without consulting the people.
Without consulting the people. There's a caller just hang on. Caller, welcome to the Marcia Week Show.
Hello, Marcia.
Hi.
I just want you to make the point that if this legislation is to continue or to be passed as is, a deeper dive will need to be done into the rules regarding expulsion of each party, not just the ruling party. So the legislation, to my mind, has to have another part to it. because each party will have rules regarding expulsion of members. What are the rules? If the will of the voter is to be subverted, where does that power really lie? And then the legislation will have to go further, because you can always change the rules within the party for expulsion. So I'm not clear that this does not have a part that's missing, deliberately so at this time. That's just my point.
Interesting. Quite interesting. Thank you, caller. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Yes. Hello.
Yes, we are hearing you, Marcia.
You're okay. I was saying Damien was answering a question before the caller called.
Yeah, so basically what it had said is just basically the crux of it, that this government does what it feels like, when it feels like, how it feels like, and they exclude the people out of the process. So I'm not surprised that they've gone and they've done the exact same thing again. And now we are seeing, as we've seen before, that there are issues with the bill. There are issues with the language. There's issue with basically everything about it, because you cannot tell me that this was not a deliberate effort to subvert constitutional rights that are afforded to those persons who put themselves up for service, all because you do not want to be challenged by an opposition. That is not right.
Yeah. Yes. Well, we are at 10 o'clock. Dr. Ferdinand, any final thoughts before we go?
Marcia, I don't know what we can add, to be honest with you. I think the people have spoken. I mean, it is clear. I think that any sensible, and I would hope that Gregory Nichols is listening to this show. I really would hope so, or somebody goes back and
Nicholson, you probably mean the Attorney General, not Gregory Nichols.
Yeah,
don't mix it up.
Sorry, the Attorney General. Sorry, my apologies. Yeah, the Attorney General. I hope somebody goes back and tells him what this show has, because it's not us talking. You know, I had no problems at all, Marcia, just to let you know, with the people calling in and I shutting up. The people have spoken. The people have spoken, and in marketing, one person represents seven. That's the fundamental thing in marketing. If that's the case, a few hundred people have spoken here tonight.
Yes, and I'm gonna let Fanus, let him say the final word. But there's something that I wrote on Facebook on February 14th when I saw a post. I could have been I think I read something that Lynette Eastman wrote, and that Donville Innes he said on Starcom, and I read them and then kind of put my own opinion to it. But just let me read something that's on the Marcia Week Show Facebook page. I said, very interesting. I listened to a very informative audio recording of both Lynette Eastman and Donville Innes rebutting the PM's proposed changes to the crossing of the floor of MPs. I then did my own research by speaking to other lawyers and examining the relevant sections of the Constitution for myself. Below is a summary of my findings. Under the Constitution of Barbados, you vote for an individual, not a party. The ballot paper carries a name, not a party mandate. The Constitution recognizes members of Parliament, not political parties. This is not opinion. This is why I wanted to close it with this, let people talk, but this is what it is. This is constitutional reality. Now we're being told that if an MP changes political affiliation, they must vacate their seat. The question is, on what constitutional basis? Freedom of association is a protected right. That includes the right to associate or disassociate politically. This is what our lawyer here has been saying for the entire night. An elected member of parliament does not surrender constitutional rights upon election. If you force an MP to lose their seat because they no longer align with a party, you are not clarifying democracy, you are redefining it. You shift the mandate from the individual elected by constituents to the political party, even though the Constitution does not recognize parties as holders of seats. The Prime Minister says this is about accountability, but accountability cannot override constitutional principle. We learned that tonight from Attorney Fanus. If Barbados is to formally recognize political parties in the Constitution for the first time in our history, that requires full national debate, legal scrutiny, Madam PM, and possibly even a referendum. This is the first time in our history. You cannot rush fundamental constitutional reform simply because one side has the numbers. Having 30 seats does not erase constitutional limits. We heard it here tonight. The Constitution is the supreme law of Barbados, not a political instrument to be adjusted for your convenience. If reform is necessary, bring it properly. Debate it openly. Test it legally. That's what Mr. Fanus is saying. But do not pretend that changing the nature of representation in this country is a minor amendment. We deserve clarity, Madam PM and Attorney General. No shortcuts, please. That's what I wrote on my page on February 14th. Over to you, Mr. Fanus.
Yeah, Marcia. So my final words, I guess, basically would be to the people that we ourselves have to be the opposition. We realize that for whatever reason, we cannot count on certain political commentators. We cannot count on the media. We cannot count on certain individuals who would think that would scrutinize this government and should scrutinize this government not only journalistically, but in a sense where that they should be the ones that who should jump to the forefront because these things affect the people. These types of legislation, these types of bills, these affect the people. So then you would think that those persons who are in the political sphere, in the journalistic sphere, that they would hold the government to task and say this is not good enough. So failing that, we the people must do it ourselves. And if we fail to do it, then we will only have ourselves to blame when we wake up one morning and we do not recognize the Barbados that we want to be. That we realize that there's a situation where that the government has held on to the seats of power for decades. Because they have entrenched themselves so far into the government that you cannot remove them. And most tyrannical governments, most autocracies, they start off as benevolent leaders, but all the while they're slowly chipping away at your rights. They're slowly chipping away at your voice. They're slowly chipping away at your modes of recourse, so that you can challenge them. And before you know it, you're in autocracy. You're in a dictatorship. And it is harder to stop a dictatorship once it's taken hold of all of the systems of government. It is harder to get rid of them. And if you go about the way of trying to get rid of them, that's when bloodshed happens. So I would say to my Barbadian brothers and sisters, be vigilant. Do not be quiet. When there are people who are coming and tell you, listen, scrutinize this here a little harder than you would with other bills, scrutinize it. Come out and you speak. You come out and you speak and you said this is not good enough, because we've heard the Prime Minister speak and said she doesn't want an opposition, and she's making sure that she never gets one. So if that doesn't terrify you, I don't know what is, because it terrifies me. I do not want to wake up in a country where that my voice is silenced, or I'm being punished for opening my mouth, where we get to that point that where there's no room for you to just disagree with the government. So that is what I would say to my Barbadian brothers and sisters. We need to shout it out. We need to let this government know that this type of stuff is not good enough, and we will not take it.
Yeah, I said I wasn't saying anything more, but John B, I was between two minds, John B, to say this, because I wasn't sure how people would take it, because some people were going to say that it doesn't make any sense to go to the same MPs. But what else are we going to do? Why don't you write your MPs and tell them that the bill needs to be withdrawn because we did not know anything about this? It wasn't raised in the election campaign. How is this now a priority when we don't even have the Integrity in Public Life Bill, assented to by the president? When we don't have a proper constitution, what? Now, when you really think about this, this is madness. This needs to be moved and taken away in front of us. You understand? When you think about it, but it's a matter of, are we serious about this thing? Is it something that we are saying this doesn't make any sense to us? Why are you coming to us with this? Why are you stopping us from having an opposition? Now that I'm thinking about it, it's after 10 and I'm getting upset. Why are you stopping us from getting an opposition, though? Did you ask us anything? We're sick of you all already. Think about, Damien, it get me fired up. Why are we stopped from having an opposition? Did you ask us anything? You didn't tell us anything in the last election. Yeah. And yeah, so folks, let's come back together on Wednesday. And so we see you again on Wednesday evening. Thank you so much, Mr. Fanus, for being with us this evening. So appreciate it. And Dr. Ferdinand, I know you gave your final word already. I don't know. That's it. All right.
It. I don't think there's a thing I can add to tonight. Tonight has just been remarkable.
Yes. Yeah, John B, you think so? Oh boy, I don't know. These people, I don't know. All right, folks, to see you. Thank you, Damien. Appreciate coming.
Bye-bye.
And God bless you. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Yo, what is this? Them say them go in republic. This is proof that independence was a trick. They're going to join the list with other fake republics. Hear me dissect this. The state is a man-made corporation. The state is owned by the monarch of Britain. So when you remove the monarch as head of state, the monarch remain owner of the state. The monarch remain owner of the state. The monarch remain owner of the state. That's why Parliament got a British mace, and that's a republic that is fake. And it's a big disgrace that local Judas politicians would deceive the population for the continued benefit of Britain, who killed and enslaved our people by the millions for several generations. Cause of it, cause of it, cause of it. With your fake republic, cause of it, cause of it. With your fake republic, cause of it, cause of it, cause of it. It's a fake republic, cause of it, cause of it. It's a fake republic. Our republic is built on trust law constitution, not this maritime law corporation, and the people's God-given sovereignty. protect it permanently. Cause the people are grantors and beneficiaries, and you public servants are obligated as trustees with fiduciary duties. And if you steal the people's money, you will be sent to the penitentiary. Cause of it, cause of it, cause of it. With your fake republic, cause of it, cause of it. With your fake republic, cause of it, cause of it, cause of it. It's a fake republic, cause of it, cause of it. It's a fake republic. If emancipation was real, there would be no need for independence. If independence was real, there would be no need for republic. It's one big game of tricks by the British and local Judas politicians who are complicit. Cause of it, cause of it. With your fake republic, cause of it, cause of it. With your fake republic, cause of it, cause of it. It's a fake republic, cause of it, cause of it. It's a fake republic. If there is no referendum, it's a fake republic. If the people don't have sovereign status, it's a fake republic. If the people don't own the state, it's a fake republic. If the people don't own crown lands, it's a fake republic. Cause of it, with your fake republic, go away, go away. With your fake republic, cause of it, cause of it.